Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Charles Derrick.
This is J Rob.
And this is Bringing the Noise. Dude, I found a site called concertarchives.org, and it don't show every concert, that every band's had, but it shows a lot of them. I guess maybe ones that were jotted down, whatever. But it goes all the way back. I mean, from literally from 80. See when the first one is in here. October 10th, 1981, Harvest Jam with Oak Ridge Boys, Alabama, and who is this?
I'm strutting my stuff, y'all. Remember that one? What's his name? I want to say Dickie Betts, but it wasn't Dickie Betts.
It's
who did that song?
It was this show is October 10th, 1981. It was the Oak Ridge Boys, Alabama, Charlie Daniels Band, Janie Freaky, and Delbert McClinton.
Delbert McClinton, that's what I was trying to think of. I'm strutting my stuff, y'all.
Shaky ground, standing on shaky ground.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember that show very well. It was at the airport in Bruton, Alabama. And it was out on the middle of the airport there. Yep.
Tickets are only $10.75.
William Lee Golden is from Bruton, Alabama, and that's what the whole thing was about.
You nailed it. It says William Lee Golden hosted this so his dad could see him in concert.
Yeah. Yeah. William Lee, he's a card. He's all right fella, I reckon.
And I was born just a few months, several months before that, in April of that year.
And you remember it too, right?
Vaguely.
Yeah.
It was around my evening bottle, I think, maybe.
Yeah, you could have heard the music, but you were going, wah!
Had a titty in his mouth.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, I brag about stuff like that. This is 82. I mean, literally, there's a crap ton. This is July 25th, 1982, Legend Valley, Thornville, Ohio, Alabama, Hank Williams Jr., Juice Newton, A Touch of Grass. In Legend Valley, Thornville, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. I think I remember that one. If I don't remember that one, I do remember the next time we came back there, because we the night before Stevie Ray Vaughan had played there. Nice. And that's when he got in the helicopter, and the helicopter took off, flew into a fog bank, and crashed.
The next time you guys came. Yeah,
and because I remember the vibe there, because he had just been there, and he left. He had gotten an helicopter. The rest was history. But I can remember how struck I was with that. Like, whoa, wow, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane, man. The guy just got his life together and everything too.
Yeah.
Awful.
I know it, man. It was just.
Have you seen where we released the part one earlier?
No, man. I've been just assholes and elbows out here this week, and before that, right after we talked, we're in the process of moving, and
yeah, I saw that.
Trying to get this house sold and all that. So it's been a real busy time for yours truly. But no, I did not see the release.
all three of us have got a whole lot going on. Matter of fact, J Rob is selling their house. They're in the middle of selling their house.
Hey, it's a great time to sell, man. It's seller's
It is.
market.
It is.
It is. It's wonderful.
Pocket
Realtor
as
was
much as
like-
possible. If you want to, throw an extra 20K, do it.
Well, that's why I do construction and stuff for a living. So I'm fixing up this and that just so we can squeeze every dollar out of it. But it is, man. Realtor was tickled when we gave her a call. It was like absolutely perfect time. Now getting
Yeah, we got
replace it,
everything we wanted out of ours. So
that's great.
mhm.
In
Nice.
turn, though, it's going to cost a little bit to replace a home. So there's a trade-off.
It is. It is. We're downsizing though, because kids and campers and all their brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and everybody's gone. We got an empty house.
Right.
So, why not? So we downsize. So we'll have a little bit of mad money left over.
That's awesome.
Now, here's a really big show that I'm seeing on this site, the U.S. Festival in 1983 from Glen Helen Amphitheater, Los Angeles.
I know it well. I know it well.
Willie Nelson, Alabama, Hank Williams Jr., Emmylou Harris, Ricky Skaggs, Riders in the Sky, Waylon Jennings, Thrasher Brothers.
We played at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It is about 105 degrees. It was a huge stage because a few days prior to that, they'd had the rock version of that right there on the same stage, the same venue. And it was the US Festival. And the country version of it was called the We Festival. If I'm calling that right. If that jives with your what you're looking at.
They've got US Festival down here, but
Festival,
there's some
okay,
things. This is kind of vague. Somebody jotted this stuff down.
All right. Well, there was a We Festival, but I'm thinking about something else different. The US Festival had a rock version and a country version because during that time in the 80s, country was just as popular as rock/pop, largely due to the, if I may pat myself on the back, Alabama being such a crossover in those days and bringing a lot of people to country music through our Southern rock influenced performances. We were really helping country become more mainstream. And I hope that doesn't sound like bragging. It's just, you've heard the saying, timing is everything. And that's a great example of that. We happened to be the people that were there in the right place at the right time. And yes, that show was huge for me personally because very much. And when I was a young kid, I used to dream about going to California. Because when I grew up in the 60s, that was the place to be, and I had this vision of what California was going to look like. And we hadn't been, it helped me remember this thought, just remember Disneyland, and I'll get to that in a minute, but Disneyland. So to make a long story endless, we play the show. It's out there in the backdrop of the San Bernardino mountain range back there. And there's probably 100,000 people in the crowd. Holy crap. That's 200,000 eyeballs looking at you.
Exactly.
And California, there's a lot of bad things. You hear a lot of bad things about California all the time now, but that used to be a very Americana place to go. And it still is once you get into the northern part of the state. But there was something really special about it. And the vibe was very cool. It was a combination Americana and James Morrison of the Doors 70s vibe. It was freaky, but it was very American. somehow, cruising on Saturday nights in Pasadena, and the wild rock and roll bands at the Tropicana Hotel in Hollywood. And it was just a cross between that. So that's the whole backdrop of the show. And I'm loving life. And we left the hotel and rode over there in a limo. I think I told you before, I hate limos, but this was getting a lot of attention as we drove in the grounds. And we pulled up to the backstage area, and another limo pulled right up next to us. And the door flew open, and it was David Lee Roth. And he wanted to come hang out and watch the country show. And he got out and promptly fell flat on his face and just puked everywhere. Now I'm a kid, and I'm like, oh God, what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
He stayed for the show. I think he stayed for a couple of the other acts. I talked to him a little bit, and I told him I was a fan. I admired what they were doing. And that's a lot of music coming out for three people. And he actually, when he sobered up a little bit, he was actually a pretty nice guy. And he apologized, man, we've been partying. I've started drinking Bloody Marys at 8 o'clock this morning. I'm sorry. And I said, hey, that, happens to all of us. Don't worry about it. And but he was pretty cool. And, we always managed to do well in California with a lot of shows, we wound up, here was this place that I dreamed about as a kid, and we wound up spending a lot of time out there. So did you get a lot of time to get to see other part? I mean, to get to see your surroundings instead of just got to be at the show, got to go to this next show? Whenever possible, I made it a point to do that. Since I was 4 years old, I've had an insatiable case of the wanderlust. I was just born with it. I got it from my family, who's always been envelope pushers, and my mother especially she was probably born with a backpack already packed. She liked to go, and that's just the way I am. So yeah, I always tried to get out and see something. And I think I told you last time we talked, I used to keep a 12-speed bike on the bus, and I'd get out and see stuff that way and talk to people. And they have no idea who I am. And here Alabama's playing in their town, and I got all that hair up under a ball cap, just, oh, it was fun.
Yeah, that's great though. You get to be you and get a natural reaction instead of somebody just, mobbing you because of the band and all that stuff.
Yeah, very much. You could get the truth out of people when you got them to give you a non-subjective opinion to a stranger who they think is a stranger. And I used to try to get them to speak their mind. They'd say, somehow I would steer the conversation around it. Like, did you get tickets for that show tonight? Oh yeah, man, we're going. I said, I wonder what it's going to be like. What do you mean what it's going to be like? Well, I heard that drummer got arrested. I just don't see what they say.
God, I hope not.
Once in a while it would be, I didn't get arrested, but once in a while it would be like, really? Well, that's good. That some bitch was a smart ass. And I wish that I would have had a camera back in those days. It's all I could do to keep quiet, not bust out laughing.
April of this year was the first time I'd ever went out west, further than Texas and Oklahoma. And, we went to the Grand Canyon and the Rocky Mountains and all that stuff for my birthday and my 40th. And that is God's country, man. It is beautiful out there. I mean, I was just like wild, big time. I told J-Rob they need to go. It's worth your money in gold.
Absolutely. Everybody should go once or twice, man. And that just gives you an idea how, and I don't know why, but how blessed I feel to have done all that without getting sappy about it. From the time I was a little kid, I used to study maps, and just imagine what these places would look like. And then, flash forward a few years, there I am getting to do it. So, I mean, it's just, I still haven't run out of gas. Look at the gig I'm doing now. I'm in 4 or 5 different cities every day when I'm out working, and managed to, see a few sites. The time is a little bit more compressed doing this job than it was on the old days. But, I still get out. Something catches my eye, I try to go see it if I got time.
But seeing it from that view is awesome too. Sometimes.
Oh, from 40,000
taking off
feet?
and taking off and coming back down to land.
Yeah, but I don't know. We're only there for a minute, and then we're way up. So, and I'm busy. I shouldn't be sightseeing at all.
Kind of got your hands full right there.
Yeah, a little bit. So.
Now I say I've done a whole, that was the first time I'd ever been out west, and I've never been to California. So there's still a whole lot I want to see too. But I tell you what, the Grand Canyon was the most astonishing thing I've ever seen with my own eyes. And I thought, just by seeing National Lampoon's Vacation, Chevy Chase and them going to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was as big as what it is. But when we first walked up to it, I'll never forget me. I was like, oh my, I was just blown away. I didn't realize it was that kind of.
Clark Griswold was in a bad hurry when he was looking at it.
Yeah. I didn't realize that the Colorado River was so far down that, that you could barely, I was just like, this is unbelievable, man. They were flying helicopters down, in the canyon and stuff like it wasn't nothing. And they were passing each other. I mean, it was like it was nothing,
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've always wanted to go down in there, but that also includes the hike back up.
Yeah. That's the reason we didn't do it. Yeah.
And going, anybody does a lot of hiking will tell you going down is just as hard as coming up after a while. That's hard.
It can take most of the day just to get down there in those hiking spots. And then, you're looking at another almost day getting back out. I mean, crazy stuff. So I'm looking now. I'm just randomly going through this site.
I was going to tell you one more California story. This is not anecdotal or anything, but it's just part of the impression of what a rush it was for a kid he's getting to play music. And when I got the gig with Alabama, I thought I was, in tall cotton because I'm getting to play music at the beach. I'm a young single guy. I'm in a house band at the beach. I've got it made. I'm done. I never want to go anywhere. Okay. Let's throw gas on that fire and flash forward a couple of years. And the very first time we're playing in California, we're playing at the iconic Disneyland. Now that's prestigious enough, right?
Yeah.
But they take us to where we're playing. We'd flown in. The 2 guys that we had that were the crew back then had set the gear up, and they take us into this building, and we get on an elevator and we go down, and we get off the elevator and we walk into the green room that's down there. And there's a big square frame, probably 20 by 12 high and 20 wide. And it's like a garage door. And they open the garage door, and there in an elevator is our entire stage, our band gear, everything is in this stage. And it's in a little tiny room, no bigger than the 20 wide and maybe 12 deep. All right. So it's in a room. And we walk to the little stage there, and I get on my drum kit, and everybody takes in these days, we were just a 4-piece band. And everybody gets on their gear, and I get my sticks, and I look up, and it's an elevator shaft. And the stage is sitting on a platform, like a huge dumbwaiter. And I count the song, I think, because the producer of the show says, you guys are to start playing in this shaft. And I'm like, you kidding me? Because when I counted the song off and we started playing, you talk about loud in that concrete shaft and all that noise compressed in that one. It's a wonder I didn't lose my hearing right then and there. But I'm 23, 24 years old. I'm loving this. This is cool because it's real loud. So the elevator starts up, and I remember looking behind me. The room was disappearing, and somebody's going, the green room people, it's the shaft is probably a good 12 feet deep. So we ride up, we got through like the first, almost the first verse of the song. And we come up out of the ground in Disneyland. It was called the something that like the Futures Pavilion. But from the audience standpoint of view, there's just a dome, and all the chairs are out sitting out in front of it. There's a dome, and then they might be able to hear the rumbling of a bass, and people are probably looking around. Where's that noise coming from? And then the dome breaks contact with the stage, what looks like to be the stage, and it starts coming up like a cylinder, and the music starts spilling out over the opening. And it comes all the way up, and then here comes the reveal of the band they came to see. And that's from the audience standpoint. From our standpoint, we're coming up into the light, and the light was this golden orange Southern California sunset. And the palm trees are hanging out off into the distance, and I could smell the salt air from the beach down at Long Beach. Disneyland's right there in Anaheim. You throw a rock to the beach. I mean, where am I coming from, right? In the 70s, I was dreaming about everything I'm seeing, and I'm playing music at the same time. I almost had a stroke. I was so happy. And I was hooked. That was cool. And, there might have been a couple hundred people there. I mean, we were just starting to get, I wouldn't call it a household word, but we're just starting to get some airplay out on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And I will never forget that, man. That's just that was so much fun. And I don't think I was just on a natural high for the next week or so we were out there. And we played a lot of little towns and stuff. We started working in California, so to speak. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We wound up going back to playing clubs. We played a bunch of clubs in San Diego after that, and working our way up the coast to Sacramento. And that's another story too, when the bus blew up. But you were asking me, I'm getting you off track. I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
you good,
no,
man.
this is your deal. Whatever. I'm just helping lead you to the water. Remembering some of this stuff. So if you think of some things, you run, man.
And did you get the book?
Did. Got mine right there.
I saw that on your mantle there.
Thank you for that too, man. Thank you very
so
much.
much.
I hope you all enjoy that.
I haven't even had time to start on it yet, but I am going to.
I've got a saved of some places we need to visit here. So,
okay.
But
I don't want to tell all of the stories in that book on the blog because I'm thinking maybe I'll make somebody curious enough to get a copy.
Well,
there's
that's what
no
I was
way.
thinking about before we started. Like, have you got it set up right now where somebody could go buy it if they wanted to?
Absolutely. They can go to my website at markherndon.com.
Okay.
And
cool.
And then they log in and Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, however they want to do it. There's a place in there where they can indicate who they want it signed to. And then
Cool.
they get it, and I see it, and I keep a stash at home. And as long as they give me an address and who to sign it to, I'll personalize it and send it out. We do that all the time, me and Leah. When the book first came out, we had a blast. That was we spent half a day mailing books out, and we just sit across the table from one another. And she would make the envelopes, and I'd sign the book and stuff it in the envelope, and it would go in the outbox. We had a little assembly line going.
That's cool.
So, nice. Yeah.
So she was my editor.
There's no way we're going to be able to cover even, remotely a taste of this book. So you guys definitely need to go get you, go to markherndon.com and get you a personalized copy of this fantastic book that's got some really, really awesome pictures that you'll get to see some of them here in just a bit.
I got to tell you how, I can't tell you how cathartic it was to write that book and get that done. And it helped me retain the good and let go of the bad in a very healthy way. Once I got it out.
A load off.
What's that?
It was probably a load off your shoulders, or like getting it off your chest, kind of.
Yeah, big time.
And being done with it, you know.
It allowed me to not necessarily forget, but it allowed me to forgive in a lot of places that needed to forgive, so I could get on with my life.
Right.
And so that book was born for a reason, and there's a lot of good stuff in there, and there's a chapter in there too that I think I hope it helps somebody avoid some of the mistakes that I made. So
nice.
Yeah, man. I enjoyed writing it. I want to write another one someday, but I got to quit going Mach 2 with my hair on fire. So.
Yeah.
And you said before, and before I forget, I better ask it about a Dolly Parton story.
Yeah.
You and Leah were talking about something about Dolly, and I had no idea what y'all was talking about.
Well, Dolly, I've always been a fan of hers, and even before I knew anything about country music, I mean, there was something about her that was cool. I don't know what I know what it is now. It's because she's so genuine. Yeah. What you see is what you get when they're, she'll be the first to tell you there's a lot to see, and she's not bashful about that kind of stuff at all, and she's very genuine, and I'm trying to think of the word. She just makes you feel very much at home, like genuine people can do, regardless of her celebrity and success. She's a magnetic type person, and this has been years and years and years and years after that opening in Disneyland in California. Alabama was long since established, and the household word, but we got invited to play at Dollywood there in Pigeon Forge, and there's an amphitheater there. Probably I forget how big it is, but it's a pretty good sized room, proscenium theater, and we're getting ready to start the show. I think the opening act was done, and there's a little 20-minute set change there. And we're all in the dressing room, and me, like usual, I'm over there, warming up on a pad or the arm of the couch or something. And Dolly bursts in the dressing room. Hey, boys, just thought I'd come by and say hi, see what all the fuss is about all these long, tall, good-looking Alabama men. How she's just a great flirt. So she's petting on Randy, and she come over there and she pets on me a little bit. Says something. She makes some funny joke about a paradiddle or something like that. And of course, I'm like, "Yeah, watch this. You like that? Watch this." She's cutting up with everybody, and she's got a like a Dixie cup in her hand with. She's drinking something, and she drops it on the floor. Bless her heart, she bends over to pick it up, and her jeans split from the front to the back, completely from seam to seam, as she was bending over.
Oh my God.
And all she had on was jeans. You catch my drift? She didn't miss it. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just a man.
You're not blind.
I'm not blind, and I'm not, dumb either. So, well, hello. And
hello,
a couple of the other guys there caught their eye, and she didn't miss a beat. She turned around and said, "Boys, if you ain't seen one by now, you ain't never going to see one." she picked up her cup, found the rest of what was in there, and she said, and she hung around for a little bit. She said, well, you know, I mean, she's kind of holding her pants together, and she just kind of laughed it off, and she's like she was one of the boys, and it just
That's awesome.
It wasn't pervy or anything. It was just so cool, and that's the way she is. She just doesn't give a shit, and in a nice way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love her. She's a great example for people.
Yeah, I agree. And I see that too, for sure. You know what? I was thinking of something else in the midst of all this. Who was somebody that you maybe got a bad vibe with on tour, that y'all maybe toured with? Was there anybody that kind of just like, I don't really like that guy or whatever, you know? Was there anybody that stood out?
Well,
was there an Axl Rose on y'all's touring? Somebody that everybody was like,
yeah, he was in the band.
Oh yeah. Well, and I knew we had crossed over that, but I was just wondering if there was any of these other artists.
Raxel.
Raxel.
Yeah, that's what we used to call him, among other things. But I don't know. I never. That's a hard question to answer because somebody's going to take it wrong if I say something bad about somebody.
Well, and
I won't elaborate on things, but I didn't ever get a good feeling off of Kenny Chesney.
And I was just actually about to start naming some names, and I saw where his name was on y'all's. Hell, even way back, like I guess toward the beginning of his career in the 90s.
We brought him to success. He started out working for our manager. He was just a kid, and our manager decided to take him under his wing, and he put him on the bill with us. And we raised that boy practically musically because he did 2 or 3 years worth of shows off and on with us on a pretty regular basis. And I don't know, when he started out, and I'm just stating my personal opinion, he can come after me if he wants, but he just was not a good singer. Now, to his credit, I'll say that he invested some time and probably got coaching on vocals, because at least some of the albums that I've heard of his in later years are very listenable. You know, I have some friends down in Florida that listen to him all the time. And I found myself enjoying some of the later stuff. I'm just talking when he was a kid and he started out. But not very many people like me when I was a kid and started out. So I don't mean that critically. You know, we all have to grow up sooner or later. And I think Kenny, like myself, had to grow up in the fast lane and the school of hard knocks and hard rock, and it ain't easy. So and it's true, I don't want to be judgmental towards really anybody, because you never know when you're catching somebody on a bad day.
Sure.
I've had several people, kind of brush me off or not be pleasant or something like that. I've let it go because I've been the same way to people. So I can't throw any stones, man. But as far as a vibe thing, Kenny didn't treat me real good, and just in a personal sort of way. I'm trying to think of anybody else.
Sounds like if somebody would have crossed up. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
What's that?
I was just going to tell J-Rob, I guess if somebody would have crossed by me Saturday and, caught me in the wrong because of how stressed I was. It's sometimes,
like
man,
said,
every once in a blue moon.
Sometimes you're having a bad day. Sometimes you don't know what's going on in somebody's life.
What's going on? Yeah.
All that. And you can't get along with everybody,
No.
that's nothing to sue anybody over. It's just a fact of life.
Right.
Chances are when you don't like somebody, they don't like you either. And that's true. I don't know. I've had to let so much bad shit go over the years and disappointment and stuff. I guess I've trained myself to try to remember the good times and the good parts. And
there sure is a lot.
You know, all that other shit's just not important. It just
it don't mean anything, man. You can't do nothing about it. One, because it's gone, and
right.
It's a waste of energy to focus on it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of good memories of people, and I think I'd rather just keep it that way.
I'm seeing another big show here in Chicago from 1983. It was called Chicago Fest, and it was in
at the
Bandshell, Grant Park. Is that right? Chicago Tribune Entertainment Section. The venue was Petrillo Bandshell at Grant Park.
Mm-hmm.
This is Ramsey Lewis, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, Alabama, and George Strait. Who is Ramsey Lewis?
I don't recall.
Oh,
it wasn't a country act. It was, I want to say it's kind of like a funk jazz type thing.
Gotcha.
Is that right?
But dude, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Like an R&B kind of guy. Huh?
I was thinking Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, man. I bet that was good.
Jazz pianist.
Ramsey Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Chicago Fest. We did Chicago Fest 3 or 4 times in the mid 80s. It was a cool festival because there was all kinds of music on all kinds of stages, and they mixed and matched stuff like that a lot. They'd put a jazz with a country or a rock with a gospel or something on the same stage, but the people would be coming through and they'd stay for what they wanted to stay and leave for what they didn't want to see. It was cool. The great food, just miles of pizza. You know, it was, I don't think they have it anymore, but yeah, it was good. Yep.
I can live off pizza.
Talking about that multiple acts and stuff like that, and earlier about the US Festival in California. I may have said this to y'all before, I don't remember, but I saw this video of let's see, Waylon, David Lee Roth, Joe Walsh, a couple other really big people. It was all playing that year. I don't know if it was 83, 82, somewhere in there. And you know, the Eagles had disbanded, so they I guess somebody had thrown a bunch of money to try to get the Eagles there, but they ended up getting Joe Walsh. And they was asking him about it, you know, why didn't this happen? He said, well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, you know, we all talked and decided this didn't need to be about the money. You know, if we was going to play again, it needed to be about more than that, and this and that. And he said, and secondly, it wasn't enough money.
It's amazing what money can do.
All those different kind of acts.
Hey, he's honest.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's great. He's I never met him. I always wanted to, because I think we're kindred spirits.
Seemed like he'd be a trip.
He's he was a nut in his day, and those were my kind of people back then.
Right.
Fun to hang out with. Let's go rock.
I just keep going through these highlights. Farm Aid from 85 at Memorial Stadium, University of Illinois, and Champaign. The list is just unbelievable. Alabama, the Beach Boys, the Blasters, Bon Jovi, Jimmy Buffett, Glenn Campbell, David Allen Coe, the Charlie Daniels Band, John Denver, Bob Dylan, John Fogerty, Foreigner, Vince Gill, Sammy Hagar, Merle Haggard, Emmylou Harris, Don Henley, Waylon Jennings, Billy Joel, Randy Newman, George Jones, B.B. King, Ricky Lee Jones, Carol King, Chris Christopherson, Huey Lewis. Who's not on here? Loretta Lynn, John Mellencamp.
And that promoter had a bill.
Dude, it's still going. I mean, Willie Nelson, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Bonnie Raitt, Lou Reed, Kenny Rogers, Tanya Tucker, Sammy Hagar, and Eddie Van Halen, Neil Young, Johnny Cash, John Conley, Vern Gosdin, Roger Miller, Roy Orbison, Charlie Pride.
Everybody.
I mean, good Lord. Yeah. 1985. Did you get to hang out with some of these people backstage?
No.
How did that work backstage?
Not too much hanging out was done because those shows were so busy. I do have one little story though. Hall and Oates played right before we did. I forget which Farm Aid it was. We did 3 or 4 of those, and it was at nighttime. Hall and Oates played, then we played, but we didn't close the show. I forget who closed the show that night. Willie would always close it, but the final act for the day, and we finished our bit, and Daryl Hall. They had house trailers behind the stage for dressing rooms for everybody, and you didn't get your own. You had one that you'd use for, an hour before the show, and then you could have it an hour after your show, and then you had to vacate that for the next act coming in. And there was probably 10 or 12 trailers in a row that were being used the same way. Well, Daryl Hall we were leaving and headed to the van to ride back to the airport to take off to go somewhere after this show. It was nighttime. It was probably 11 o'clock at night. And Hall was out in front of his trailer and he was pitching a fit because he was missing a Martin acoustic guitar. And he's looking everywhere for it. He's cussing up a storm. He's mad about it. He shouldn't have left it. I told so-and-so not to leave it. Now somebody's probably stole the damn thing. I don't know where it is. A favorite guitar, And I looked, I was a fan of Hall and Oates, and I thought, this might be an opportunity to get to talk to him, meet him or something. So I sort of faked interest in his problem at the time. I said, did you look under here? Did you look under the trailer? Did you look under the vehicle? Somebody, all these crazy people running around back here, did anybody get in your trailer? No, nobody's been in here, but I don't know. So we looked under this Suburban that was, parked under there. And then we looked under the trailer and looked behind the stairs. And I said, oh man, I got to catch the other guys. We're going to the van. I stuck out my hand and introduced myself. He said, nice to meet you. I said, I hope you find it. He said, I do too. And that was it. So I went on, never saw him again. Years and years go by. And I've been working for this company now about 5 years, right? My first year, I hadn't been working here for probably 3 or 4 months. And one of our passengers was Daryl Hall. But I'm up front in the cockpit. Well, we're a small jet, and the one member of the flight crew, the other will do the safety briefing as far as showing them where the fire extinguisher are, the emergency exits, this sort of thing, use of seatbelts, seat backs, Wi-Fi above 10,000. Yep, all that kind of stuff. Well, we don't go to that extreme. We just point where it comes out of the ceiling. So I'm doing that, and you finish your little spiel, and you say, if there's anything else we can do for you, where the snacks and drinks are, you want to get up, come up front, visit with us in the cockpit. Once we get to altitude, that's cool, whatever. We'll see you on the ground. And I forget where I was taken, in Boston or something like that. See you on the ground in a couple hours. Yep. So I go up, get in my seat. And I was telling my partner I was with, I told him a little bit about that story. I said, he goes, was he nice to you? And I said, yeah, he paid attention while I was giving him the safety briefing. He goes, oh, he said, okay, cool. And I said, yeah, he seemed all right. I said, but he doesn't, does he know you? And I said, he should, but he probably doesn't remember. I told him a little bit about that story, And we land, taxi into the FBO there. Daryl grabs his little bag and he heads out the door, and he passes me, and I said, did you ever find that guitar? And he stopped in his tracks and he goes, how do you know about that? I said, it's a long story. Have a good night. I just let him go. I didn't say a word because I didn't want anything getting back to the company. But it freaked him out, man.
They can't. It's like they can't put two and two together. The fact that you're flying that plane.
Triple take. Yeah, he did a triple take because it didn't compute. I could see the whole thought process go through his head. You're a geek pilot, and what are you talking about? It's like, I didn't want to explain to him because I didn't want to take it any further than that. I just wanted to enjoy the meet. And my buddy who was with me, he was standing right behind me in the cockpit door. And he was like, "Gee, man, that was cool." But
so folks like you, man, you've been around so many people, like just one little instance, 40, almost 40 years ago. Be hard to keep up with everything.
In a way, it wasn't fair of me to hit him up with that because I knew he wouldn't remember, but I just had to have a little fun with it.
No, that's awesome. Cool that you did.
He probably would have remembered if
I told him.
If he would have been doing a show and you'd still been with Alabama and everything and been the drummer, and you'd have said it in that situation, like backstage or something, whatever, But the fact that you're flying jet, it's kind of like the same thing we was talking about, with Hank Jr. or Willie, it's kind of, or Willie Nelson. It's kind of like, hold on, it's even if they look at your face, because some people look like somebody, you know what I mean?
Right.
You see somebody and it's like, well, I know about 2 or 3 people that look kind of like that, and it's kind of hard to put a person. You remember? I don't
look anything like I did back. I don't look anything now like I did back then. Especially
you look older.
Yeah. Hey, what do you mean? No.
I mean, you just look like the older guy.
You just got glasses, man. That's only good.
That's it.
I don't look like I did 10 years ago,
If I'm working and I'm in uniform and I don't have a ball cap on, you wouldn't know me from Adam, because everybody remembers long hair and headbands and all that kind of stuff.
Sunshades, yeah.
Yeah. And up until 3 years ago, up until my third year with this company, nobody in the company knew my background. I think if I told you that before, it stopped me, but I kept that the deepest, darkest secret because I didn't want to be treated any different than any of the rest of the guys.
So
I had some fun with that. I just kind of wanted to see how long it would last, but I made it last 3 years. Nobody knew. Wow. Now they all do, and they all give me shit about it. But
I was just fixing to say, how did things change once they found out?
For the better. Everybody rags me all the time about it. Or it's a topic of conversation, and then there's a handful of people that either don't know or they don't give a shit.
Sure.
That's what I like about what I'm doing now. It's a level playing field. You're here to do this, and you can either do it or you can't. And if you can't do it, then they don't have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
So it's got nothing to do with music. That's another life. That's mine.
Was there a point though? Looking at all those years and all that, was there a point where you thought, because I've heard, who was it? One of the Beatles say it. What's the most popular Beatle? What's his name? McCartney. Paul McCartney. He actually, quoted saying, I always thought I was going to be in this band. Like he thought, you know, that I'm gonna always be in this band. It's gonna always be, you know, because it was so big. Was there a point throughout the 80s and the 90s and 2000s where you thought, I'm gonna always be in this band the rest of my life, and you know, in some form, fashion, we're always going to keep playing?
There were probably a lot of points where I thought I was going to get fired from this band.
I'm going to
I
get
think
fired.
I told
It's just
you,
coming one day.
I think I told you one of those stories about the thermostat issue, and then
And then
the little chat I had with the manager.
yeah.
Yeah, there were quite a few of those, but I guess from the onset at the Bowery at Myrtle Beach, when I first started playing with them, there was that something that's different, that call it the little voice in the back of your head, or the vibe, or something was different, and something made me say, we're not getting to play metal, rock and roll, but we're getting to play music that might go somewhere, because this is really different. And it came true, obviously, but you know, it's a shame. And I guess after, you know, 10 years went by quick. And there's some of the most vivid memories of good times and just growing up on the road that I remember in those first 10 years. And that went by so fast. And I remember feeling like I was somebody special. I made it 10 years, you know. Shouldn't I get something for this?
Get a plaque
A
or
plaque.
what?
No, nobody said a damn word. And that's funny now, because it like I would, well, hell yeah, I wouldn't have said a word either, because they'd all been playing with one another 5 or 6 years prior to that.
Yeah.
But I had my head up my ass, I guess, thinking I was special. And I made it 10 years. None of your other drummers did, you know. Well, who gives a shit? You know, we're thinking about the next 10 years, the next 10 years. It taught me to start thinking about it like that. And yeah, the next 10 years went by, and then we got 20. And you mentioned the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band a little while ago. Those guys have been together 50 years.
Yeah.
They're still playing together. Now, that is, to me, that is magic. That's like looking at an old married couple that have been married 60, 70 years. And you know, you know how rare that is, that people can get along, either the married couple or a band that many years. Oh my God, because I know what it's like, man. It takes work.
It takes work.
Somebody you start out loving, you just wind up hating sometimes. I don't know whether you really do or not, but you think you do. And that's why bands break up and people get divorced.
Yeah.
Go figure. But the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, we got to play an entire Canadian tour with them. And Jimmy Fallon, the drummer, he and I got on pretty good. And they were a fun group of guys, and they pretty much blew us off the stage, because we were going through some times to where there was no energy on stage, and what we had done to get us to that point all these years was in jeopardy. And that was not a good year. And the fans were disappointed. We were losing fans, and we were not gaining any in Canada. And you know, I'll just keep it short by saying it was not a good time inside the band. And it's so hard to get out there and play music when the chemistry isn't there, or you have pent up anger or issues with one or more people. It becomes physically painful to try to play music from your heart when there's so much anger. And over time, that does a lot of damage to your whole being. It really does. And that's what drives a lot of people to, find alternative ways to feel that good feeling again. And yeah, it's like putting a Band-Aid over a chainsaw cut. You know, it just don't work. And anyway, before we go down that rabbit hole, the nitty gritty dirt band thing was they would come out and just they were great live, and they had so much fun. And I don't know whether the other three members of Alabama felt this way or not, but I felt kind of embarrassed to follow them because they had so much fun. They kicked our ass having fun. And they're great musicians, no doubt, but they really had the crowd eating out of the palm of their hand. And then we would come out and people would be standing in their chairs and everything, and the energy just wasn't what they expected, especially after the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And they'd get out, they wouldn't be standing in their chairs after two songs, and then they'd be sitting down. And in some cases, they'd be leaving, there'd be empty chairs, you know, and that tour was not a success. And it was in Canada, so we didn't get any bad press here about it, but I was not a happy camper, but it was out of my control. So, but yeah, they were a lot of fun, pranksters and practical jokers and funny stuff. They were veterans, you know, and we were at that time of our career, we were probably in the 21, 22 years together mark. They were 10 or 15 years ahead of us. So they had probably matured beyond all that, I don't know, adolescent behavior of infighting in the band and stuff like that, that they'd grown past that. And probably, and I wish we would have stayed together so we could have grown past that. And there's no telling what kind of good music that we'd be able to make now if everybody has matured equally. You know, I would, yeah, I can speak for myself, you know, and I'm very proud of the fact how much I've grown up from what I was, you know, in the majority of those days. So that I'm pontificating, so I'll shut up.
I want to show you a picture, and I think we talked about it in part 1 podcast. I want to show you a picture, and I want you to tell me what you think of.
I remember the day very well. New York City, girl from RCA on the promotion staff stuffed me in a cab, and I said, and she come out, we were doing radio promotional stuff, and it was about 4:00 in the afternoon, and the little girl right there in front of me, see, I forget what her name is, but
I'm not sure if I'm showing it.
Oh,
good.
You're showing me.
See it.
I see it very well. The little girl right there in front of me worked for RCA and in the pop division. And we were doing some promotional stuff for the single that was out at the time with the country radio station that was in New York at the time, in Manhattan, which was a novelty in itself because it was a country station in Manhattan. That's unheard of. But country was so popular at that time that they actually managed to put a billboard reporting station in New York City. So we had been there for a promotion and, you know, hobnobbing with the radio station and thanking them for playing the record. This little girl from the pop division in RCA Records grabs me. She says, "You want to go to a cool party?" And of course me, you know, yeah. And we run outside and jump in a cab and go up to East 88th Street, where there's a bar called Elaine's in New York City. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was a rock and roll bar. And we walked in, and there those guys are, Billy Idol and the two guys from the Stones, Ron Wood and Keith. And I'd probably grinning like a Cadillac, but you know, both doors open, just yeehaw. I'm in my element now. I'm feeling good. And that was at the height of the punk rock era, you know, and so I've got my little punk rock t-shirt on and everything, I'm a wannabe, I'm a well-known wannabe. So I sat at the table with Billy Idol and Keith. Keith had that flash paper, that magic flash paper, that he would touch his cigarette to the paper and he'd throw it up in the air and it would disappear in a ball of fire. And he was so high that he wasn't talking to anybody. He was just, I don't know whether it was an act. I mean, a lot of this crap is act sometimes. Or he was really that high, because he would just light it on fire and throw it up and just stare at it, and it would go in a ball of fire and then it would disappear and there'd be no smoke. It was magic paper. And he would just stare where the ball of fire was for about a minute. Wow. And he'd do it again. And I hit it off with Billy Idol. Me and him started telling jokes and throwing drinks back and laughing and telling stories and stuff. And we were like best buddies by the time the afternoon was over, with, of course, add alcohol. And we're armed up singing songs, and the little girl that took me to the bar, she's going, "Oh shit, I'm in trouble now," because she thought she was going to get in trouble with a label for taking me up there. But I don't know what came of it. I think, I exchanged numbers with Billy Idol, and we were supposed to get together next time I was in LA, because I was trying to live in LA at that time. We were going to get together and maybe write or, play a little bit or something, but it never materialized. But yeah, somebody took that snapshot, and that picture's followed me around forever. So I put it in the book.
That's an awesome story, dude.
I got another one here. This is for, he put this in here. It's a BMI check for 3 cents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh.
And it says below it, 3 cents. Really?
No, it said, look at the top there. It says
perception.
BMI, yeah, perception, BMI Award of Excellence. All the big plaque and everything.
Yeah, the plaque's
says
above it.
perception.
Yeah.
The first one, yeah.
And the check is the reality for 3 cents.
Yeah, that's perception and reality.
Accurate.
3 cents.
Is there a date on that check?
Date year 1994.
Mm-hmm.
February 23rd, 1994.
Yeah. Yeah, I saved that just strictly because of the irony of it all, I did pretty well with Christmas in Dixie. I got some mad money for that, but I missed out on a lot of the writing. So that's I kept those two things to remind myself of, you can't fix stupid. And I was stupid for not getting in on a lot of that writing.
And just you talking about Charlie Daniels and the relationship there. Here's a picture of all you guys and Charlie Daniels, and he's got his hands on you there.
Yeah, raise it up just a little bit. I know the pic. Yep.
He's about to wring your neck over that getting into that concert.
Yeah, he wants
$12.
He's still wanting that ticket money. No, I think Charlie was just as fond of me as I was him. He got it. He knew what was going on. He and I talked a few times about, he threw out an idea too of how I might be able to fix my relationship with the band. But I probably didn't take enough steps to follow through on it, but he was he was kind of a fatherly guy in a way. He's rough and gruff and tough and liked to have a good time and didn't put up with any bullshit whatsoever. But I always felt like he was kind of, he was pulling for me a little bit. You can see it in that picture, the body language.
Yeah, I think so too.
If I stare at that picture long enough, I could feel a little lump come up in the throat because I was so fond of him, man. He did a good life. He did a lot of good.
Oh wow. From beat up from a beat up 70s Dodge van with some drums and amps thrown in the back and four determined young guys to all of this. I never got tired of standing out here listening to all that power at idle. Check out the tour buses in a row here.
Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Those were all the trucks and the buses on the farewell tour. I took all that. Yep, those would roll every night, full of the set gear and musical instruments, lights, PA, concessions, just all. It's a rolling circus, man. It's a small town on the roll. It's a huge production. And what I used to, I don't know, man. I would still do that nowadays. It was kind of a thrill. The show's over, the stadium's empty. The guys are. Remember that song by Jackson Brown? Pack them cases up and push them up them ramps. It just makes. What's the name of that?
I can't think of the name of it either. I know what song you're talking about.
Because he breaks into that. Why don't you stay? The Loadout, I think it's called. The Loadout.
My wife could tell us. She's a huge Jackson Brown fan.
Yeah, I think it's called The Loadout, and then they go into the cover of the old 50s classic. But in the quiet moments after a show, before we go back to the hotel or get on the bus for a 16-hour ride somewhere. At nighttime, late at night, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, all those trucks, you never when you're on the road in a truck, you never shut the motor off. It's cheaper to let them run than it is to, crank them on and crank them off. And all those trucks would sit out there at idle all during loadout and everything. And when you get 9, 10, 11 of them in a row, all at idle, close to the same RPM, it sets up a harmonic. And if the timing is set right in each engine, it develops. There's a word for it. It's the same thing that makes it. Phase, and it's the same thing that makes. You ever take those things where you pull the one ball bearing back, and it hits the line of them, and the one on the other side goes out like that. Yeah. And then if you leave them long enough, they swing in perfect synchronicity. Same thing with the motors. And I would stand out there and just listen to the motors idle, and it would just be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Man, it used to create the coolest calm. Just thinking about how far we could go with that, how far all those trucks are. They have to go how far they've been, how far they could go. And we're all one unit going, whoa, whoa, while we're all together, man, Yeah. And what's out in front of us is just as important as what's behind us. And it could go forever. It could have gone forever. And I used to think about stuff like that. It was a high all by itself, power.
Were you under the influence of anything while thinking this, Mr. Herndon?
Yes and no. Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. In the latter part of the farewell.
Let's get a flashlight and check his eyes.
In the latter part of the farewell tour, no, because I quit partying and drinking and raising hell and
I know what you're saying.
And in 2000 and early 2004. And then I discovered a whole new high, and that was being straight and experience all of that and accepting it for being, hearing it, seeing it, feeling it in my right mind. And that was better than anything I'd ever known.
What is your favorite show? Just remembering back, and I know you had a lot of fond memories in the farewell tour, but what is your all-time favorite show looking back from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s?
My all-time favorite show is that we did.
Yeah.
What's one that stands out more than others?
I put one in the book. The cliff notes of it are Carolina Coliseum in Columbia, South Carolina, Alabama headline. The opener was, what's his name? Good guy, man. He had a couple of great little hit records. He looked just like Roy Rogers. I can't remember his name. That's awful. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're there.
You're not talking about, no, he don't look like Roy Rogers though. I was thinking of Travis Tritt's buddy from over here in Philadelphia, Marty Stewart.
No. This kid was
I'm way off.
This kid was from Texas.
I was thinking about the nudie suits and stuff though, like the cowboy, cowboy goes to California look. Yeah.
Anyway, there's one in Carolina Coliseum in Columbia, because that's when I had just caught the music bug and was starting to go to concerts and stuff. That's the venue I went to see a lot in, and I touch on that in the book, how karma in a good way found me playing there to a sold out show, the venue where I'd gone to see all my idols in when I was a real young high school and college student, and how spectacularly wonderful that was that particular night to play to a sold out room. And during the day before sound check, I got in the building early and I went and I sat in some of my seats that I remembered sitting in for shows like Heart and Fleetwood Mac and Bob Seger and all the greats from back in those days. I remembered about the section that I sat in. So I'd go up there and sit in there and I'd watch them setting up the stage, bringing, my band gear in to play the same venue. And the show, as you can imagine, that night was spectacular for me. And we got 5 encores that night. They wouldn't let us leave. And the crowd was so loud, it actually would hurt your ears walking back on stage. Everybody was still holding up lighters in those days. Nowadays they hold up cell phones, but that was lighters in those days. And every seat had a person holding up a lighter. It was loud and it was big and it was a dream come true. And it was in that venue, That's a different.
This is Birmingham, but the lighters, as you speak of,
Yep. Yeah. That's because, when I was a concert goer as a young fan of those other bands, I did my share of holding up lighters, and I can relate to how that feels, the connection that represents between the people and the band, the music and the band members and the people, and it's synchronicity, it's synergy, it's chemistry, and it's very, very special. And people, that many people in one place, meaning so much from their hearts to you, the performer, it makes you just want to give back and just keep on giving. After the 5th encore, I think the cops started getting like, okay, we need to shut this thing down, or else I think we probably could have played 10. We ran out of material. And somewhere there's a video. Somebody made a video of the party afterwards backstage in the dressing room. I've seen it once or twice. I'm glad there wasn't social media in those days, because we had a barn burner, and it was pretty wild. A lots of furnishings and were damaged. A lot of glass was broken. But it
Was this a VHS camera? Cassette?
Yeah.
Somebody walking around?
Big camera. But it was all good, man. You know, we had the opening act band was in there with us, and we were just blowing off some steam and having a good time. And that one sticks out. Anytime we played at Shoreline Amphitheater in San Jose, that was a venue that was built by Bill Graham, the famous rock promoter. And he's the guy that kind of cultivated the Grateful Dead's career. And Grateful Dead, that was their home venue. And we were touching back on that California thing that I was enamored with when I was young. There was very much that vibe, but it's the San Francisco music scene that had a presence there in that venue. Like it or not, it's pretty powerful. People like Grace Slick and Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead and Zeppelin played there a lot. That genre of music was very well represented in Shoreline Amphitheater, and we always did well there. Oddly enough, the Mountain View, California, is the township that surrounds Shoreline. San Jose, Santa Cruz, Concord, California, that area, which reminds me of a funny story. That venue special, those are special shows. Red Rocks in Denver. Oh man. Look that venue up sometime.
Yeah, I've watched YouTube
freaking
concerts from there, and it's just special.
I watched that Joe Bonamassa concert he did there, man. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
That was a treat to play there, and the acoustics are fabulous. You wouldn't believe it. It's like all these rocks all around the stage. It's built right literally into the rock, and the acoustics are kick ass. And you would think it'd be real harsh and tinny. No, it's magic. There's just some of these iconic places that it's just such a privilege to play there. The Majestic Theater in San Antonio, the Uptown Theater in Kansas City, Madison Square Garden, the Carnegie Hall. That's in the book. We got to play all those, man. And each one of them had a distinct personality to me. Carnegie Hall, I put the story in the book of my grandmother played there when she was pianist for the New York Philharmonic. And
wow.
I could feel her on the stage. I could definitely. She was there, and Majestic, like I said, the Majestic and the Uptown, those proscenium theaters from the 1920s. They were built in the 20s before they had PAs, and they seat from 3,000 to 5,000 seats. So that's a pretty good sized room, right? Especially back in those days of no PA. And they had plays and they had singers and they had big bands that would come in there. What's his name? Tony Bennett demonstrated that how superior the acoustic planning is in venues like that. One night I went to see him, and he was playing at Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga. Older building, better acoustics than a basketball hall. And he mentioned, he said, when I was a young kid, we didn't have PAs, and we didn't have all the fancy stuff you do now, and we had to really sing. You had to sing from down here, and it sort of went like this. And he took the microphone, he put it over here, and he got the piano player to play a number, one of his songs, and the microphone was away from him. He moved it way, way far away from him. And he stepped out on the stage and he sang to a crowd of 5,000 people with no PA. And you could hear him just like he was right there, right in your living room.
Wow.
That was awesome. And those proscenium theaters from the Art Deco era that I mentioned were fun to play, and not only because of the vibe of the great players that had been in there before, but the acoustics are just, it's indescribable compared to playing in a basketball ball arena.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about overseas stuff? I mean, did y'all have some pretty big, memorable things over there?
We never went overseas.
Never at all.
Much to my disappointment, and I don't know. It just,
That's
there's
wild.
a little bit of it's a tragedy that we didn't, because we could have.
Yeah, I mean,
We could
Alabama
have,
was worldwide. I mean, it was. You know,
I
it
figured
was
at
nice.
least Europe would have been, would have killed there for certain.
Hell, I didn't
Well,
know Hank Jr. went to Japan. Remember, they were talking about they went to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Howard and David Bellamy, two of my good friends in the business, have been for years, go to Europe every year and make a killing. And European fans, especially the English, are way more loyal than American fans. I hear. Ours were always pretty loyal here, so I have no complaints. But everybody that plays over there says if they like you, they'll like you the rest of their lives, whether they ever see you again or not. They'll buy your product.
Now,
So
I don't think you
it's a good
necessarily.
market.
I don't think you necessarily have to be just super big if you can go over there and, get
Yeah,
a little
you're right.
traction. You could just go every so
You are
often
very
and
right.
do pretty well.
We promoted Leah's product over there. We had a #2 single in England on our first release over there, and they dig it because it's American and it's country, and she's got a lot of authenticity in her vocals. And we wound up doing, all of a sudden we were doing a lot of radio in England and riding the charts there. But it's also pretty expensive to promote over there, so
Sure.
that didn't last as long as I wanted it to. But yeah, special shows, God, man, we could go all night on that. But, I can remember I put them in the class of venues. The certain venues always meant a lot to me, and for various reasons.
I see one here. This is 87, the Marlboro Country Music with the Judds, Merle Haggard, and the Strangers in Alabama. And this is at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum Arena, Oakland, California.
That was I think that was part of the Salem tour. R.J. Reynolds bought a huge stake in country music right about the time of Urban Cowboy. And I really don't remember. There's not a whole lot of iconic moments. I'm sure there were, but that was playing basketball arenas was still very new to me at that time, and largely due to the success of Urban Cowboy. People were coming to concerts, country concerts, out of curiosity, just as much as they, half the hall was there because they were familiar with the acts, and the other half was there. Was like, let's go see what all this belt buckle cowboy hat crap's about. So, yeah, that era there, we were just coming out of clubs, we were just learning how to be a concert band as opposed to a cover band. There's a big difference.
Sure.
And we talked about this before about Alabama leading the way for bands in country music and being the innovator with that. I'm seeing in 93 a show, or this was, Knoxville Civic Coliseum in Knoxville, Tennessee, with Diamond Rio and Michelle Wright. But my question, what reason I'm even saying anything about that show, was there any of those bands like Diamond Rio or any of them that maybe done shows with y'all and was like, man, thank y'all so much. Oh man, just paying homage to you kind of thing. But
Do you remember the award show when Rascal Flatts got presented? I forget which award it was. Maybe it was Entertainer of the Year. And Joe Don jumped off the stage and brought it down and gave it to us.
well, yeah, it seems like I remember something like that.
Yeah. He brought it to the row that we were sitting in, handed it to Randy, said, "This is for y'all, man. If it weren't for y'all, none of us would be doing this." And I didn't know whether shit or why my watch, man. I about cried. I think we all did. What a sacrifice and what a something he did. And he caught hell for that from the political organization that is the CMA. He caught hell for that. They never gave him nothing else after that. They took it small-mindedly rather than look at that. Look at the brotherhood. They could have capitalized on that, and the people would have eaten that up, man. And what did they do? Oh, well, that's what you think of our award. You give it away to somebody, we'll just ban you from the rest of it. Oh, you can't fix stupid.
Yeah.
But I don't.
They
They hear that. They hear that. What I just said, they'll probably ban me for lots too. Whatever. I call them like I see them. But yeah, bands would do that, and that bands would do that and thank us publicly sometimes, especially when we have, like from everybody from Diamond Rio to Charlie Daniels to Rascal Flatts. We have them on the bill with us, and a lot of times they get in the mic and they say, something like, we're only here because of these guys that are coming on a little bit. I just want y'all to know that. And that means more to me than anything. Because if it's really true, then we helped a lot of people. We helped a lot of the band of brothers out there.
Oh, ain't no doubt. Ain't no doubt. The best that ever was, when it comes to a band and country music, that's for sure. You guys did a tribute to Richard Petty in 92 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep. There's another. Remember that like it was yesterday because we did the show. There was a show.
That was in the Georgia Dome.
Yes.
Wow.
It was,
just y'all.
No.
Okay. Well, they're not showing the other on here.
No. One of the other acts was James Brown.
Gotcha. Okay. I was going to say the Georgia Dome, man, you'd have to have, it's a lot of people.
Yeah. It was for the Olympics, the 94 Olympics in Atlanta.
Talked about that. Yeah. And was that?
That's the story I told you about, James, when we went out.
The president.
We went out to the bar with some of his band guys and he told us a story about George.
Gotcha.
I mean, George. Hello, James. And he told us. I told you all that story the other night. I think about James.
Well, about him stopping and having to sign the autograph for the president.
Yeah. Stopping with the president, and then there was another part of it where he went to the pokey for a while, and he kept all of them on the dole. That show was. Georgia Dome was big. It was James Brown. I cannot remember who was on that bill, but I remember we had to play after James Brown. That's one of the biggest challenges I ever faced.
Dude. Hardest working man in show business.
Yeah, he was. He brought that house down, man. He made us work.
I feel good.
Yeah. Wow. I did not want to get on stage after they finished. Clyde Stubblefield was his drummer. The guy invented that funk stuff, man. They would play. I mean, he'd be grooving this. I mean, it was badass.
It is badass.
And all James Brown would do is a little bit of "huh" and a "good God, y'all," and
Yeah.
I feel
always
good.
tickled me, that guy, whenever he tried to walk off stage. Well, that guy come out there and put that cape over him, get about almost over off of it.
Yeah.
Throw that baby off, go back to dance.
Yeah. Wow, hot in here. Wow. The bass player, he told me, he said, I was just, God, you guys are, I was just like a little kid, talking to him. And I forget what I asked him, some goofy thing like, how'd y'all get so tight? I don't know about tight. All I know is when Jane be looking at you, you best be playing something.
Her stories, he used to fine them guys for being late for rehearsals, and he kept them in line, but obviously paid off.
Well, knowing musicians, we respond to that kind of stimuli.
Yeah,
we're a little scatterbrained.
I'm looking through all this stuff, all these years, these concerts. Where do you feel like you guys were at your height? Where do you feel like, this is where the prime time was years?
Yeah, the end of the 80s, 88, 89.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm trying to.
And it could have, it probably, had we gone to Europe and we had done a world tour, that would have put us in another stratosphere, maybe like Garth. Garth did the world thing.
Yeah.
Garth went to Australia. Garth went to England. Garth went to Japan. It kind of put him in a different crowd.
Sure.
And we didn't
How
do that.
did Alabama not? Now could have. If you would have asked me earlier today if Alabama would have done something, in other countries, I'd be like, for sure, no doubt.
Besides Canada thing, maybe.
No, it was probably the greatest mistake we ever made, and it was a combination of things. Elvis never went to Europe either.
Yeah, that was the Colonel's doings though, because he couldn't get out of the country.
There's speculation out there that he didn't want to go to Europe. No, he wanted to go to Europe, but Colonel Tom Parker didn't know anybody he could have deal with over there.
Yeah, he couldn't leave because of his he couldn't get a passport for some reason.
Vicious.
Watch him.
Anytime there's a question with anything, just follow the money.
Follow the money.
You'll find out. You'll find your answer. And unfortunately, we never went over. I think it was a career mistake, but I didn't have a say so. I wanted to go. I did go. I went to England. RCA was really pushing us going to England, and there was pushback from management and the band. And what did I do? I saw an opportunity. I said, I'll go do a radio tour. I'll take some product and I'll go represent the band. Sure. Well, one's better than none, I guess. So I went over there on RCA's dime and spent 2.5 weeks riding around England, going to radio stations, doing a few TV programs. Had fun just telling stories, spinning a few records, going to radio stations in London and Plymouth, down Devon, up to Manchester and Birmingham. Didn't get to Scotland. I always wanted to go to Scotland because I have family over there. And but it was, like I said, great. You were telling me about Farm Aid a little while ago, and Farm Aid was a descendant of Live Aid. Remember Live Aid?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Live Aid was going on when I was in England, and this is not a funny story or anything, but it's just a wow moment. I'd been over there about a week, and we had gotten back into London. Phil Collins had finished playing up at Royal Albert Hall for some event there in London, and it was televised. I was back at the room, and Phil Collins during this time was huge. Remember, that's when he had all his hits on the pop side. And they're filming him. He gets in the limousine, and this is back in the days of these big cameras. He gets in the limousine, and the announcer is saying something about he's on his way out to Heathrow. He's getting on the Concorde. He's flying to Philadelphia, and he'll be there for his engagement at the the Live Aid. And we watched him on television go out of the venue, and then there was cameras at the airport and at Heathrow. He got on the Concorde. He walked up the ramp stair thing and waved everybody like the presidents do, disappeared into the Concorde. A few minutes later, I'm staying at my hotel in Hyde Park there, and I hear this, and sure enough, the Concorde's taken off right over the city and climbs out, disappears up into a cloud, and the sound recedes off. About, I don't know, it was 10, 11 o'clock at night, which was 4 or 5 o'clock in America. I tuned on the TV to the live broadcast of Live Aid in England being broadcast from Philadelphia. 3 hours later, 3.5 hours later, roughly. Who walks on stage? Phil Collins, live, and just starts his thing for Live Aid. And he had just taken off in London 3 hours later, 3 hours prior to that. I'm going, are we living in the future or what? I always wanted to ride the Concorde. But,
insane.
That was that cool. I just saw him here 3 hours ago. Now he's all the way across the ocean.
Playing a show.
I don't know. I'm easily entertained. Yeah, playing a show. And he just finished a show here. 3 hours later, he had time to get a nap, something to eat, and look over his notes, hit the stage.
Wow.
6,000 miles away.
You remind me of
I'm
him.
Easily entertained, but I remind you of him.
Phil Collins. I don't know what it is, just the way y'all look. Has anybody ever told you that you kind of look like him? That y'all kind of look like each other?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like this.
I don't know what it is, man.
He's not.
Yeah, he kind of looks like him. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have people tease me about that. As long as I can play that lick, man.
That's it, dude. That's what everybody wants. That in the air tonight, drum lick.
The first time I ever got turned on to Phil Collins was at that first year we played in California, and we played on the stage where they held the Monterey Pop Festival in 1970. And that's the famous footage where Hendrix burns his guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about? J-Buck, J-Ron knows what I'm talking about. Sure. And, he's on his knees and he's coaching the flame up. It's after he played the Star Spangled Banner, I think. And it's a foggy morning. That part of the country, it's always foggy on the North Pacific coast like that. And I got off the bus, and I'm tired. We've been playing a lot of shows. I'm looking for coffee and catered breakfast and everything. It's a fairgrounds. Walk out on the stage. It's a wooden floor. It's kind of like a Quonset hut thing over it. So it's just a county fair, but it's where they had that festival. And on the stage are some char marks in the wood. It's like an oak wood floor, and it's old. It's old. It's been there a long time, probably since the 40s. But over here, stage right, with like these stanchions, 4 corners of stanchions and cords around it, and caution tape, like police line, do not cross. Pretty substantial ropes around it are these charred marks on the wood. And I'm kind of about to stumble in it. I'm half asleep, and one of the stagehands kind of came up to me and said, just so you know, don't step in that circle. What the hell are you talking about? I said, dude, you know where you are? And I said, I think so. All right, Jimmy Henson, those marks on the stage, that's where he burned his guitar. Whoa. And that to this day, it's still that they don't let anybody step on that spot. That's why they keep that covered. And so that's kind of cool. Little things, all they are, you just remember that.
That'd be kind of eerie seeing that and kind of
it was
thinking
thinking
about it.
Yeah, no, made the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
I bet.
Does that mean anything to Jeff Bezos, who just went into space today, or Hollywood actor, or a politician of some kind? No, but it means something to our kind of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big deal.
And they don't mean anything to us. So.
Right.
Yeah.
A show stood out to me here from '99 in Gadsden, Alabama. I played there several times. But this is Gadsden Riverfest, and it was Survivor, the Commodores, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Alabama, Diamond Rio, Juice Newton, and Bertie Higgins. 1999 in Gadsden, Alabama. Now, Survivor, was Bill Marshall playing for Survivor at that time, or was he still with Hank? I can't remember.
I don't know. He played for him for a while, and I don't remember when, but
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was after that. I think it was.
It may have been after that. Okay.
When he done that.
Okay.
I think I would have remembered it. He'd been playing with him then, because I'd have looked up there and go, "What the hell are you doing up there, dude?"
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What stands out? Okay. And then there was a series of shows before the year before the farewell tour with Chris Cagle and Brooks and Dunn in Alabama. I mean, it was a bunch of shows. And Dwight Yoakam and Trick Pony. It was Alabama, Brooks and Dunn, Dwight Yoakam, Trick Pony, and Chris Cagle. 2002. Okay, a lot of that was that Canadian tour that you were talking about. I know this show in particular right here is saying it's in Ontario that I'm looking at. Man,
sure that's not Ontario, California.
Okay, yeah, no, it was
Ontario, would have been Winnipeg.
Yeah, it was American tour, but it was, you guys were going a lot of places with that show.
That one doesn't ring a bell.
Really?
I'm not saying we. Yeah, I mean, I do remember Brooks and Dunn being fun, you know, and cutting up a lot, but I don't remember anybody else on that bill. So you get into the 2000s, and that's when it started to be not fun for me. The late 90s into the early 2000s was like, you know, I got to a bad place, and I got to up to where I was hearing myself say, I don't want to do this anymore. And probably at the time I meant it. I hate this. You know, I used to say this things like, this would be a great gig if it weren't for the show. You know, I just ride around and set up equipment and tear it down and, you know, drink beer with my friends. But then we got the damn show to deal with because it had gotten that bad on stage. As far as the tension and the anger and the petty jealousies and the resentment, it just turned into a big pool of bullshit. But up to that point, we had some wonderful times.
Who was the most fun to be on tour with besides Charlie Daniels, obviously?
Oh, Restless Heart. Juice Newton, as far as her band guys. I never got to know Juice. Her husband, Otha, who played lead guitar, and her drummer, Gary, me and us three were real good friends. We got into lots of trouble. Well, Otha got in lots of trouble with Juice, and me and Gary got in all kinds of other trouble. But Otha used to stay in trouble with Juice, and it was funny. I mean, he was ingenious coming up ways to sneak around, get away with stuff, or be, you know, hide. She was kind of serious, and he was wild. Restless Heart, all of them were fun. The only one I didn't know was what's his name? Singer.
Yeah. His name's on the tip of my tongue too, but yeah.
He nice guy. I mean, real nice guy, but he didn't have that. He didn't have that wild hair like the rest of us did. Good guys, man. They were so good live. It was a treat to go out in front and listen to them. And they were just spectacular musicians. And that's a really underrated band. They never got the recognition they deserve. They should have been promoted in pop. They could have probably given the Eagles a run for their money. I'm telling you, live, it was music to my ears. I used to go out, I'd put my hair up under my cap, you know, put a different pair of glasses on, go out and sit in the crowd when they were playing, when they opened up for us. We did, oh shoot, man, I bet we did 100 shows with them. And yeah, they were fun. They were fun. Of course, Charlie and his guys, Hank and Billy, Cowboy and them, you know, we were always cutting up.
Did y'all ever do anything with John
Hank was on?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
Sporadic. John, sporadically here and there. Just I liked him. I like his stuff. I like swinging. I like Seminole Wind. I like some of the stuff that didn't make the air. He was a good writer, I thought. He good performer. He picked good songs. Yeah, I know John. I like him as a person. He's a true country boy. Let's see. Yeah, Hank. I was saying Hank was. Of course, you know, Bill and Cowboy and all of them, Animal. We got to hang out a lot. Burn the candle, so to speak. They were a lot of fun. I didn't get to know Hank too well. Hank kind of kept to himself a little bit, but years later, I flew Hank. He hired our chartered service I was working for at the time. We flew him up to Farmville, Virginia on a Civil War battlefield artifact recovery mission. He's big into that. He likes to go around and collect all that stuff. And did I tell you this story the other night?
Vague. You just went over it real vague. Yeah.
His road manager brought the box into the FBO and said, whatever we do, we can't lose this. It's got to go everywhere Hank's going. And he says, the only reason I'm giving it to you is I'm not going on this trip. And I said, well, I have to see what's in the box. I mean, you know, you're bringing something unknown on my airplane. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I got to look in the box. He said, sure, help yourself. I opened the box and I went, whoa! It looked like a skunk was in there, and a dead skunk. And it wasn't. It was his toupee. It fitted. It's fitted to kind of come out under his hat to where it looks like he has hair under his, up in his hat. He puts his hat on it. It's part of the hat.
Yeah.
I got to get
carries
one.
Carries it with him.
Me too.
In case he, there you go. So, but anyway, we took him up there, and he was up there for 2 or 3 days, and come back to get him. And he met us at the plane. He handed me a bunch of, spent bullets and shrapnel casings, some grape shot and stuff that he dug up with his metal detector kit. And so he there again, he didn't know me from Adam, and I didn't say anything about it. But I get tickled about stuff like that. But yeah, there was a lot of them. I'd say more than not, right? I found something interesting, and I crossed paths with a lot of people at award shows, American Music Awards, Grammys, CMAs, Academy of Country Music, People's Choice, all these things we participated in. There's people usually from all walks of show business, actors, actresses, rock and roll people, country people, you name it. And, just about to a man, the ones that had the squeaky, goody two shoes, perfect model boy, never, did anything, they were just perfect little clean people, were the biggest assholes of all of them. And the bad boys were the nice guys, or the genuine guys, hey, come on in.
They were being real.
What can I do for you? Teach you, Right. We're having a party up at Coldwater Canyon tonight. Why don't you guys come on up? So sure, man. Not impressed with themselves. They're just regular people. And the goody two shoes crowd were, oh no, I'm way too good for you. I just thought that was funny. And I can tell you a few of the ones that have bad boy reputations, and they were people to hang out with. All the guys in the crew, them several times in green room. Tom he was wired for 223 phase, but he was fun to hang around with. Real into drums, we talked back and forth. What are you guys using? What are you doing? What kind of kit you playing? All this stuff. David Lee Roth was always nice. Now, one of the clean cut, good image people that was real nice was Gladys Knight. I'll always remember her. She was classy. Oh man, she was nice. Tammy Wynette, my dear friend Tammy Wynette. Yeah.
Really cool.
Oh man, I couldn't. She's just a lovely, lovely person. When my mom died, she sent me a nice letter. She knew my mother a little bit, and she just, people like that. It seems like there are not so many of them anymore. But Barbara Eden, I got to meet her.
That's nice, man. Score.
Ooh, at the time, I think she was about 55, and she was drop dead gorgeous, dude.
Oh, I bet.
She came up to me and said, just wanted to congratulate you on your award, and your band is really great. You guys performed. I really enjoyed your performance. I'm like, oh man, she has this pale blue and white dress with just enough sparkly in it to be tasteful and not over glamorous. Oh man, I've had a crush on her all my life.
Yeah, she was
I've dreamed
bad,
of
man.
Jeannie all my life.
Really bad.
Anyway,
Did you guys ever do anything with Skinnerd?
Yeah, I did. Let me see. We did a part of a tribute album that I was not pleased with because certain people were in a real bad mood that day, and when we recorded Sweet Home Alabama, they went out of their way to put minimal amount of effort in it because it was a money thing, and the money, rather than taking it for what it was and a chance to play an iconic song from an iconic band that we all drew a lot of influences from as we were learning to play music the way we came up. Skinnerd was God at the time, and the song was, in my opinion, was very much disrespected, and I'm not proud of that recording. But yeah, we did have the honor of participating with Skinnerd on that, and then I went over to play with them a couple of times at the Fox in Atlanta, just because I knew some of them, and I'd get on stage, play one song, and I knew Johnny from way back when he was just getting started, had his own band. This was right after Ronnie and them went down in the plane, and I ran into. Do you remember a record store company chain called the Record Bar? It was big all through the South. It may have been before your days, but they would sponsor tours and of like B acts when Alabama was just getting started. I mean, we could play in South Carolina, Georgia, and maybe some Florida. I got to know Johnny down there then. He had a band, wasn't doing anything, but yeah, we had a little influence with Skinnerd. We never shared a bill with them. I don't remember. I would have remembered that, but
y'all probably were headlining and stuff by the time they got the new band going around 85 or so.
Yeah, because I went to see him just as a fan.
Yeah,
a couple of times. Owen Hale was playing drums then. Guy that married KT Oslin.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah, she died a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Just recently.
I love some KT Oslin songs now.
Me and Leah and the band cover "Do You." We have a
Honey Now Do You.
Forgot about that song. Damn, that's
dude, man, it's a good song, dude.
It is good, and it's surprisingly easy to play. We've got a pretty good little version of it.
Do you still get a thrill when you see me coming up the hill? Honey, now do you?
Yeah. Honey, now do you? It's amazing. Isn't that amazing how all music and the people that play it are their paths cross, their music blends. Everybody meets one another if you stay in this business long enough, regardless of what kind of product you're putting out. You'll cross paths with these people that you admire or you don't, one way or the other, at some point. And I've always been a big fan of that. The show Crossroads. It was on CMT for a while.
Oh yeah, Oh yeah.
Like that's what got Alison Krauss and Robert Plant started doing that record.
Right.
You know, I wanted to do that when we first started, because when we first started and we were opening acts for people, and then even on a lesser scale, we had bands open up for us. The promoters didn't know who we were. They didn't know where to put us. They put us with, they put us with rock acts and country acts and stuff. And I always thought it was refreshing to work with a rock act because it gave everybody a little bit of something different. And to me, it always seems like it went over good. We even did a show with Ian Anderson one time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now that's a pretty crazy
dude. I mean, it was crazy.
mashup right there,
It was
dude.
crazy. And then somebody, what was the other guy? Oh, speaking of Ian Hunter. Remember him?
I can't place him.
British rocker from the 70s. That was on Don Kirshner's rock concert. Remember that?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, you guys aren't that much younger than me, are you?
Who would have been Alabama's Crossroads show? I'm thinking the Eagles.
We never got to do that.
That
Yeah, I
would've been
know, but I'm
pretty-
saying who would have been Alabama's Crossroads episode? I'm thinking the Eagles.
that would have been pretty similar. You know, you're not going to get a vast difference if that's what you're looking
Yeah.
for. I don't think.
Yeah, I think they would have had to have something.
You need to
that
have
was
something a little edgier. Yeah.
not a vocal type band, something different.
Not that it wouldn't be spectacular, but if you're going for like,
That would be too much
apples and
competition.
oranges, it wouldn't. That would mesh entirely too well.
I mean, you had Hank Jr. and Kid Rock. You had what's their name? Taylor Swift and Def Leppard.
Yeah,
I think they were just drawing names out of a hat. I think there's a process to think about that.
I know we had I'll tell you what would have probably worked, except the vocal thing was similar, might have been competitive, but we did 70 cities with the Doobie Brothers. As the two management companies got together because they believed in this crossover stuff. And the senior partners in the Doobie Brothers wanted to record a country album. They wanted to do something different, and they wanted to try their hand at country, and they wanted to learn a little bit about what it was like to tour the way country people do it. And so they put us together for 70 cities. And at first I was like, are you out of your mind? I mean, what? That's way too different. And I had seen the Doobies 2 times before we ever worked with them. They're strong, man. They rock.
Oh yeah.
And they're great. They're originally studio players, so they know their stuff. And the first show, I got on my 12-speed. It was an outdoor show, and I got on my 12-speed bike so I could be incognito. And I rode out. There was a little service road comes from behind the stage, out alongside where the crowd was. Went all the way back in the back of the people, and I got off my bike and I walked up to where front of house was, and I just kind of stood out there and listened to them play. They sound just like the record. It was in Manhattan, Kansas, down in front of an earthen dam, and the concert was right down there in front of the dam. Huge lake behind it. I'm thinking, boy, I hope this dam doesn't give away today. I mean, it was a big lake. God, man, I can remember going, oh Lord, how are we ever going to follow this? But we did. I didn't know what to do other than just get up there and do what we do and give it my all. And somehow we held the crowd, and it went over really well. And they came out and sang they came out and did a little bit of harmony with us on the last song. And people, we 3 or 4 shows into it, 4 or 5 shows into it, a week's worth, everybody started kind of finding people they could get along with. And we started telling stories from our side of business and they theirs. And we kind of started finding out how similar everything really was. And there really is no difference. We're all doing the same thing. And from there, we started forming some friendships. And I got on real well with Keith Knudsen. Rest in peace, Keith. He died a few years ago. Some of their techs were good buddies of mine, but that was a very successful experiment, and made some good friends. So, the Doobie Brothers. So that might have been a good crossroads.
Whatever.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm also thinking Alabama and Aerosmith.
Wow. We used to
I think Kiss would be. I thought about Alabama and Kiss, but I think Kiss it would probably piss Randy off, because there's just too much show, too much, whatever. But
that production.
Gene would be getting too much attention.
But
Randy's not
Alabama
gonna like that.
and Aerosmith would be sweet,
I'd like to see that. Steven Tyler tried to do a country thing about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And me and Leah went to the CMAs that night. We walked in right behind Steven Tyler. That guy, he ain't as big as a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was that little. I mean, he comes up to about here on me, and I'm only 5'8", 5'9". I'm shrinking. He's a little tiny dude, man. He probably weighs 138 pounds.
Yeah, he's a little bitty fella. Yeah.
And
Kenny
Joe Perry
Chesney
too.
is a little bitty fella.
On the edge. Kenny Chesney?
I saw Kenny Chesney up real close one time, and I was like, this guy looks like a little turtle. I mean, he's like little bitty. He was wearing a ball cap. And I was like, I was standing on the dance floor, and he was on the stage. It was in Starkville at Rick's, and I'm almost eye to eye with him, and I was on the dance floor. Of course, I'm 6'4", and I'm like, this dude is tiny, little bitty feller. And wasn't wearing the 50-gallon drum cowboy hat either, just wearing a ball cap. Made him look even smaller. But, dude, this is magic, man.
I don't know. I've thought about 4 or 5 funny stories while we've been talking, and I try to get back to them, and then they've gone MIA on me. So there's a bunch of them. That everything you say will make me think of something.
Well, we can always do a part 3 sometime or another. We'll make this a regular series with you. Do one every month.
And we're back with Mark Herndon's The High Road.
Yeah, and people are going to go.
Well, we could just start having you on as the third host and interviewing other people.
Yeah. And look, he can be like Chris Farley. Hey, you remember that time?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. Man, you remember that time we was backstage and this happened? We saw that dude. Yeah, man, that was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah. You drank a beer. Yeah. Hey, you wouldn't be surprised. You'd be surprised how many people will come up to me and say that and be sincere about it. Like,
oh yeah,
dude, it happens to us, man. And you don't remember shit of what they're talking about.
I was backstage, you backstage, and you wanted a beer, and I went and got you one, and you signed the can for me. You remember that, man? Yeah, sure did, man. Sure did.
Man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, if you remember how to do that, I need another one.
And you're right. They do. I mean, you made an impression on that person for the rest of his life.
You never know when the cool thing. Yep. Can mean so much to somebody.
Yeah, that's easier said than done sometimes, man.
Well, I want to, and I'm gonna let y'all get some sleep tonight.
Well, I feel like that I haven't covered what I think you wanted or what we talked about. We haven't had a lot of belly laughs, and there was a lot of them out there. And I'm not begging for more time, but I just don't. I've been all over the place tonight, man. I don't know. Maybe
I think that's where the good stuff is, though, man. It just, we don't have to worry about hitting certain points. It's just a free flowing conversation. I mean, that's what I get off on when I listen to other podcasts. People, is just,
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've shared a
talk
lot of
about what
wow.
comes
You
up.
shared a lot of wow stories tonight. I mean, it's not. It ain't got to be funny. You know what I mean? It got to be. The entertainment is in the wow. And to you, it was just that was your life. That was the way it was. Whatever. But to the listeners
and to us,
and yeah,
entertaining as hell to us
yeah,
to get to hear,
yeah,
and talk with you.
Yeah.
Well, I get what you're saying there. Some of the podcasts I've listened to, I know what you mean when somebody gets just to talking random stuff.
You've done enough interviews over the years, people asking you specific this and that, and then that's all you get to say is just touch on it and go.
Interviews are, you do so many of them, you develop a comfort zone based on a role that you play while you're doing an interview. Something like this, I perceived it to be a little bit more intimate, which would make it more interesting.
Sure.
Yep.
It'd be good for me, good for you guys on with your product and everything. But I think I was kind of scatterbrained tonight. So
I thought you did fantastic, dude. I mean, there's no way to cover every funny story or every wow moment or whatever. There's just no way. But I'm gonna tell you something. If you go back and you watch part 1 of this podcast, it's over 4 hours long. I want to say it's maybe 4 hours and 17 minutes or whatever. Now that's edited.
4:18 is what you said.
4:18, and it's edited. And we covered a lot of shit in that podcast. I mean, it's a lot more than I thought, actually. And this one,
I think we had some pretty good laughs at the first.
It was
we
great.
did.
It was a great, great night.
I'm paranoid about being too maudlin. That's a weird word, but it's a good one. Maudlin. It's like Eeyore.
Go back and watch that
ho-hum.
first. Yeah, go back and watch that first podcast. It shocked even me. I was like, oh man, I forgot we even covered over that. And I forgot he told that or whatever. It's good. And it had its serious, it had its emotional, it had its funny as hell.
That's why it lasted 4 hours and 18 minutes. Because when you're having a good time flies. I mean, it's,
True that. I couldn't believe what time it was when we were through. And
we hadn't done one like that before.
Not that long.
I mean,
not that long.
Leah and Sam they sat in the living room till probably midnight laughing at us laughing.
Oh,
she was in the living room in there, and they were out there cracking up at us.
That's great.
And she finally gave up about 12:30 and went to bed. And I came to bed at almost 2:00.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to do this picture. Of course, obviously we want to say the book again to everybody, Mark Herndon. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm having a hard time seeing myself in this, but High Road. And to get you a copy, go to markherndon.com and you can get a personalized copy from the legend, the Country Music Hall of Famer himself. Okay.
You can also get it on Amazon too.
Okay,
sweet.
Right.
And I just want to, and I know you downplay this, whatever, because I know where you've got it. I can tell with the time we've spent together that where you shelved this stuff in your mind. But I'm gonna say something on this. So on the back, it shows that statue in Fort Payne of him. The entire band is taking up that entire street corner in Fort Payne, and it's a life-size statue of each one of the members. And then in the background, There's these huge brick columns, real tall. Now I want you to imagine this is an entire street corner. This ain't like just out on the sidewalk. This is like way taking up the entire.
That's the redneck Stonehenge.
Yeah, there you go. It's legit, and these huge columns behind them, telling the accolades and the story and all the awards, is incredible to say the least. Just like I'm being in Country Music Hall of Fame, and just like Hollywood star and all this kind of stuff. And I know at this point you've made a separation from yourself and your future and what you've got going on now. You're a very accomplished, pilot and all this stuff that most people don't even get to do either. So you've had two things in your life that I know of, that most people don't get to do. And it's really, really cool. And I mean, J-Rob just flew for the first time last year ever in his life with somebody, I mean, most people don't get to have that kind of these kind of things that you got. So, but I want to throw out there, and I know you said it would never happen and whatever. And I hope one day that y'all can bury the hatchet, not necessarily do business together. If you don't do business together, whatever, that's neither here nor there. But I hope that because of as much time and as much things as you did and how awesome it was, that, maybe y'all can figure out a way to bury it before you leave this place, because me, like I've said before, me and J-Rob, have been at, hadn't talked for years and was mad at each other or whatever. And, I've been that way with people and in certain situations. And it is, I hope that y'all can find a place, cause I know, trust me, I know how it is to be in a band with folks. And you do, it's kind of like a marriage. It really is. And you get to where you maybe, the longer you're with them and the more you're having to deal with them, those little things that just really get on your nerves about the person just go to times 100 and you want to kill the bastard,
Form
resentment. Yeah. You're like, oh man,
Yeah.
but it's remembering, and I hate to be a Bible thumper. I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm not at all, but it makes me remember this old saying that, count your blessings and remember, the things what got you to that dance, or, what brought you together kind of thing, or, and I'm sure this stuff you talked about, people, whatever, outsider looking in, I'm not in your shoes. And it's easy for me to say this. I've got things in my life too that, I should probably be preaching to myself. But I hope, with how special that is, and none of us can say that we've got that same situation with three other people that we've got fucking statues beside on a street corner in the town that we're in. I mean, that's unbelievable. And the fact that everybody's still alive. I know Jeff's not doing very good or whatever, but I hope that, that you guys can, before it reminds me of when I was growing up, the Ultimate Warrior was my favorite wrestler. You know what I mean? And watching WWF and all that. Oh man. And, right before he died, he made good of all that stuff with Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan and all that stuff. And literally that's the only WrestleMania I've ever been to, was the one in New Orleans, WrestleMania 30, when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And there was so many people that, acted like they hated his guts and he was a POS, all this kind of stuff, whatever. But for some reason, he buried every one of them hatchets that one weekend. And it was right before he died. I mean, literally, like I think he died on a Tuesday morning. Yeah. And he made it right on that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and was inducted, and all that stuff. So everybody always said before that too, they said, man, we never, ever thought that guy would ever be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and would never, or if he did, it would be after he died. They never would even acknowledge this cat. None of us wanted to be around him, blah, 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 whatever. But I just, you are such an icon for that. And I think that needs to be revered, and I think it needs to be all of y'all standing there together and buried that hatchet, and because you're such an iconic bunch and everything, it deserves that, whether you ever do a show again, ever, you know. But that's coming from a nobody, you know.
Well, no, that nobody's a nobody.
But I'm saying, you know, somebody that's not, you know, on that.
Nobody's
you know.
a nobody. And first of all, I appreciate you saying that. Second of all, it's not Bible thumping to me. In this day and age and culture, I don't think there's enough Bible thumping going on. I have learned, among other things from the Bible, that there is no life if you don't have forgiveness first. You carry a grudge around, it's going to kill you. And that's what I meant by when I wrote that book. You know, the Lord works in mysterious ways, they say. And all those epiphanies that I had writing that book and being able to transfer it to the computer screen through the keyboards. I don't even type, you know, I'm a one finger typer, and I got to the point where I could just go while I was writing that book. It was channeling, and it was coming out of me for a reason. It's cleansing. And I reached forgiveness. And ever since then, everything has gotten so much better. So there ain't nothing thumpy about it or corny about it. It's an instruction book. It's a history book, and it's an example of what not to do and what to do. So don't feel bashful about that. Unforgiveness, or forgiveness rather, is probably one of the most important things in life. And it's funny that it takes a lifetime to learn that for most of us. You're 40 years old. You've learned that at that age. That'll keep you alive a long time. Good for you. I would sound hypocritical and judgmental if I go off saying that I have forgiven, but I don't think, in the case of at least one other individual in that former band, that's true. I don't. Or else there would be a concerted effort to try to get back together. There was about 3 or 4 years ago. Teddy approached me and indicated that everybody else was on board about it, but there was just some details that needed to be ironing out, and made me a formal offer.
Was this the picture? I saw a picture of y'all. I think it was you, Leah, and Teddy.
That was before then, but he came to a show. He came to a show that Leah did at the Civic Center there in Rangeville, and yeah, he showed up at the after show. That's when we made that picture. But that's been several years before he approached me about the band getting back together. And it was pretty much shot down by the usual suspect, which didn't surprise me. But you know what? I forgive him for that. That's on him. That's not on me. And I would do it. I told Teddy I'd do it. I've been waiting for you to come to me. I mean, you know, I didn't feel like it was my place to go to them because it was brought on me. The lawsuit was brought on me and everything against me by them. But I was open to reconciliation. And we got to the point of where we talked about how many dates and for how much. And Teddy was excited about it. I was starting to get excited about it too, and I had a good feeling about what it would have done for the fans. because I really feel bad about that. People don't understand what happened. And I know what it's like to, not have some of my favorite bands when I was a kid together anymore for various reasons. It's something that's part of you that you'll never have again. They centered their lives around us. We owe them something for that. We raised a couple of generations of kids playing for the first set of moms and dads, and then their kids had kids, and they bring them to the show, and then that ain't something to sneeze at right there. That means something. That needs to be preserved somehow. And what you said just a minute ago is that the hatchet needs to be buried between the band members for the fans' sake, more than the band members' sake, I think. Fans give you their love very innocently and very, very dedicatedly, if that's a word, loyalty. I'm a loyal person. I know what it feels like to feel loyal to somebody. It's unquestionable, and that's the way fans were with the band. And we owe them something.
Dude,
we owe them something.
It's weird, and it's weird to me, and I know y'all probably getting tired of this analogy, but it's weird to me how close this is to that whole Ultimate Warrior WWF thing, because they even had multiple lawsuits with him and Vince McMahon. They went, it was ugly, and then they came.
You talking about the Eagles?
No, I was talking about my analogy about the wrestler back in the day, Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
They had lawsuits. And they came out with a DVD that was the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, like buried him. Like tried to bury something that was so great. You know what I mean? Makes me think of the Brad Paisley thing, and it's like, there's so much there that's like, man, this is ugly, kind of thing. But then there's, on the other hand, it's like, how awesome would it be though if you could dig deep and like make this a redemption story before everybody starts, leaving this world, you know what I mean? And try to make it Alabama is they buried it. They're you know what I mean?
I do. I don't know how that could be done.
It sounds like the rest of them that coming so close, man. I don't know. It's a possibility, seems like.
It does, but then again, here again, I sound like a hypocrite, because next to forgiveness being one of the most important ingredients in life comes faith. And you can't have faith without forgiveness. And you can't have life of any quality without faith.
It almost takes.
So if I go around saying, well, them guys, they don't want to do it. I've done my part, blah, blah, blah. That's not having good faith. But I don't know. I'm getting into an area where I don't know what to do really, because it was tried. I think Teddy in his mind really thought that he was going to get to what you're talking about, where everybody could go out one last time and play a little bit. Bygones be bygones. And I was on board with that. But you know what? It didn't happen. And I don't know whether that's just the way it is because that's the way it's meant to be, or it's because of one person creating enough impedance to, keep the thing from ever getting off the ground in the first place. And if that's the case, I'm not saying it is, but if that's the case, then that's kind of on that one person.
could be another issue with time. Timing's everything, man. It may not be the right time yet.
Well, if in a perfect world, it would be bury the hatchet, go out and play, 40, 50 cities just to give it a final kick in the ass, right? That's not possible with the original lineup because Jeff's health has gotten so bad. He can't leave the house now.
Yeah.
He can't play.
And I'm not even talking about a show. I mean, it could just be a freaking picture of you guys together burying the hatchet, just like, hey, we love y'all.
Yeah.
We were coming back together. We buried the hatchet. We know it was something special. That was a long time of just, biggest band, one of the biggest bands in the world,
Well, I appreciate that from that aspect too, because what you're doing here is keeping that legacy, if you will, alive to a certain degree, because I don't think about it that much anymore. I have a different life now. I have a different gig. I still play music. I still love music. I still love drums. I play out in the garage all the time. Sure. If we're not having band practice, I put in the earbuds and wail away. I'm never going to give that up. But
well, you're doing what you had to do. You're doing what you had to do, and you did the right thing for your life, no doubt about it. And you are happy, and I'm happy for you. And I'm not trying to make this a negative ending at all. I just wanted to throw, my 2 cents out there from a guy that's not in that circle, and that's what I meant by a nobody. I'm not downing myself. I'm saying I'm not in y'all's life. You know what I mean? Like that. I just hope the best of that whole situation is my point, and hope that that maybe could happen, for not just me, for y'all, for everybody that knows, and they even feel it too, man, no matter how much it's tried to be downplayed, whatever, with Randy and Teddy doing that, show in Nashville, whatever it was a week or so ago, and whatever. They know it. Everybody knows it. Don't matter how long ago it's been. That was too long of y'all were the band. There's still one cat that's missing. There's still one guy that's missing. He's not dead. He's right here. He's still here.
Not dead.
I mean, it was just too much out there. It was too much.
Well, what you're talking about would be really cool if it was spontaneous. Now, what would have been, I don't know how it could ever be pulled off. I don't think I'd have the balls to do it, but then maybe, I don't know. In a situation like what you're talking about, the show that was here in Nashville 3-4 weeks ago, at Bridgestone.
Yeah.
This would be funny if I just walk on stage and start playing my music with them.
Just show up. Yeah, just show up.
I know their drummer, Tommy Harden's a friend of mine.
Or just walk up to him, to Randy, and say, "Man, I want to bury the hatchet," and just shake his hand. You know what I mean? Whatever. That be the bigger guy. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Oh yeah.
It would floor him. I'm sure it would floor a lot of people. And then for sure, if somebody's a dick, I don't see that happening. But if somebody was a dick at that point, then sure enough, man, that's hard to live with. If somebody does that, I mean, good Lord, that's like, you can't just be a
or better yet, walk up there, and like I said, Tommy Harden's he's a buddy of mine, and not say a word about it, just but work it out with him before the show. So now when I come up and tap you on the shoulder, I'm gonna slide in there behind you. All right. Start the song about music. Randy turn around. Whoa!
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Like I told Teddy, when he finally, this thing that we tried to put together 3 or 4 years ago, when something's too good to be true, it usually is, that drill. And I had that in the back of my mind the whole time, because a leopard don't change his spots. And even though he was telling me, Randy's changed, man, he's on board with this. He likes the idea. Tim Conway, their manager, he said, oh yeah, he sees it. And he said, Jeff's a little unsure, but Jeff kind of, Jeff's not in good shape. He's here some days and he's not. And I thought, it ain't Jeff that you're worried about, Teddy. I know what you're worried about. It's Randy. And I know him. I worked with him almost 30 years, and I know how he is about people that cross him. He never forgives, never, and remembers every one of them. And no matter how slight, there ain't no getting off the shit list with him. He's just one of those kind of people. I mean, that's his business. It doesn't bother me either way how he is now. I'm sorry, man. I'll say a prayer for his redemption too, because that's what we're supposed to do. But I don't know, as far as seeing a physical change to the dynamic where it is now, I'm gonna have to leave that in the big man's hands, because I can't wrap my mind around what it would take to change somebody's mind that from where it is.
And you couldn't. You're right. It's in the bigger man's hands. You know what I mean? And hopefully that
it did. Alabama did a
things-
lot of good. Alabama, I think, was created for that reason. It did a lot of good things for a lot of people needing that. The product that Alabama was, which was a feel-good band and a band that went to the limelight to give people that most of them, I don't say most of them, but so many of them did not have good lives. I met so many of them in countless autograph lines, and lots of handicapped people and people just kind of downtrodden and beat up by life, and they gravitated to us. And don't get me wrong, we had a lot of people from all walks of life, but the ones that really needed it got something out of it. And there's a purpose for that, because those kind of people are mistreated by everybody, and they don't have anything. People shun them. I hate this word, but they're discriminated against. But they come to an Alabama concert, and they were made to feel special. And I don't know where I'm going with all that, but it served its purpose, if nothing else. It ended. All good things do come to an end, but it did serve its purpose. And maybe it was time for it to be over before it got so bad, as far as the friction that it destroyed things for those people. Maybe the memory that they have of all those good years is worth more than seeing it again. It's like, have you ever gone back to a place that, I don't know where you've lived in your life, but if you've lived many places in your life, and you go back to a place that you have some nostalgia about from when you were a child, and you go back to that place and it just ain't the same. And then when you leave it, it's kind of spoils the nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same for you anymore. You've lost something. Something's been taken from you. So I'm just speaking on from one hand to the other. On the other hand, maybe it is just the way it's supposed to be. It's fast approaching a legend. in some circles.
Oh, it is legendary.
For sure.
They got statues of you, man. I mean,
and sometimes legends are meant to stage as legends. You know, there's more romance to a legend than a reality. You know,
Right.
you have had a successful life regardless of this, right? I mean, you
Right.
have, and you've done a good job even after and all of that, putting your ego to the side and having a kick-ass life even afterwards. I guess I'm gonna put this out there, and there's still time to make it right. And I'm not putting pressure on you. I'm not, it's not nothing. Like, all I'm just saying is y'all still alive, and who knows what could happen, you know, and I hope that maybe that can end with a storybook ending, you know.
well, you know, and hey, stranger things have happened, and all things happen on God's time.
Yeah.
We might not always like that timing, but it all happens on the big boss's time.
It's going to be perfect timing when it does.
Oh yeah. I'd give myself to it. I think it would be fun, but Jeff's not going to be there. And I don't know if it would have they missed that opportunity. They missed that opportunity, and I'm not throwing all the stones, because when that opportunity did come, I was probably still mad too. And I probably would have, you know, I was fine, fuck y'all too, you know, but because that opportunity came a long time ago when Pepsi wanted us to get back. I told you about that the other night. Pepsi wanted to sponsor us to get back, and it was a $1 billion offer, and Randy wouldn't take it. And I don't know that to be the gospel, but I heard it from some pretty good sources that that's what Pepsi wanted to do, you know, but it had the stipulation was the original 4 guys. And that was too soon after the lawsuit. Randy or somebody in management said, nope, not with him back on stage. So, but that was a long time ago, and everybody's grown up a sight more. I would hope that maybe one last hurrah. But
well, one thing about it, the whole down, you know, and I know we didn't want to go here in this one, you know, and I thought we did a really good job of going over all the wow stuff and, you know, some of that stuff. But one thing about it is, no matter how much it's downplayed, if you wouldn't one of the signed guys or whatever, there's way too much there for all those years that solidifies that you were one of the 4, you know, and even though they were together before you joined and all of that, whatever, it's still there, all that killer, all that time of all the big stuff. You were the guy, you were the, you know, part of that.
You helped build that brand just as much as anybody.
No shit.
Well, you know what?
There's a reason you're one of the statues.
And I'm flattered from your words and everything, and I mean that, but I'm just kind of excited that you get it. You guys get it. And
I think there's a lot of people that get it.
Well, you know, I don't know. I'm either too close to it or too far away from it now. I don't get that out of it, because I don't spend much time dwelling there. But
correct.
You guys
yeah,
get
and
it.
you shouldn't, and you shouldn't. You know.
Yeah, but it's and I thank you for saying all that. That means a lot. That it's that somebody gets what I can't articulate sometimes. I can't. It's so huge, but at first I put it all away, and then I let it out in that book behind you there, J-Rob, and then what you have in front of you, Charles. And I let it out, and then it was gone. You know, you take a little hummingbird out in the yard and open your hand. Well,
Part of letting go, man. That's the reason you
yes, Yeah, just let it go. But you guys, yeah, I mean, you get it, and I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but it is overlooked. I get the feeling that it's overlooked the way a lot of other legends are treated out there. I was thinking about it today, just coming in here to Nashville. We came in from Milwaukee. Was the last leg today, and we're on the descent into Nashville. And I got the iPad out and I'm pulling up the nav chart for getting into Nashville. And on the arrival chart getting into Nashville, there's, I don't know, 18 or 20 GPS waypoints. And all GPS waypoints have a name, so you can identify them, right? And every one of them coming into Nashville is named Loretta or Garth. Different. It has to have 5 letters, and they have different phonetical way of saying these names. But you can read them, and they say Garth, Loretta, Brooks, Hank, Merle. They're all the names of iconic country people, legends. Not one of them says Bama. Now, why is that? Why? It's little things like that. A lot of venues all over the country. When I first started working here, and we'd have an overnight in a city that I would remember some great show or something happened and I'd walk. If I was downtown, stay in a hotel downtown, I'd walk to the Civic Center. If the doors were open, I'd get in and I'd look around. And in these places, most of them, especially a lot of the indoor outdoor sheds, there's murals of all the greats that have played there. There's, 3x5 murals all over the walls. Everybody, I mean, there's pictures of Robert Plant. There's pictures of Dolly Parton. There's pictures of, The Who. There's pictures of iconic bands. Never have I seen one of Alabama. Never.
But I don't know if you saw that. And what was it? Just a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, when they played at the Bridgestone Arena, Teddy and Randy with that other backing band. It was a good crowd. I mean, you could tell trying to, for that 50th deal, they were trying to pay homage to them, to Alabama. It was Alabama show, 50th. They were celebrating the 50th anniversary or whatever. And, I was pretty shocked. And I think, what's her name, that, Martina McBride and Tim McGraw showed up and sang some songs with them, but it just, and like I said, I can tell and that you now in your life, you've moved on and you're killing in life, dude. You are. I mean, mad respect. I'm not down in anything you're doing at all, because you're killing life and you're doing great. I mean, there's nothing I can say bad about you at all.
Because of forgiveness, dude.
Yeah.
Right.
You've done what you needed to do, no doubt. And mad respect. I mean, you're killing it in life, no doubt. But you belong there. You belong at that. You belong at that. All that happened and all that you did. And I'm not just saying that just because we're talking to you. I'm playing a fair field here, And if you was to present yourself that way of, hey, y'all remember me, even to the fans, to a lot of fans, you put that bandana on, you put them shades on, it's going to be like, oh, there's the other guy. You know what I mean? And I know you don't play that role. You don't do that. You know what I mean? Because you don't want to, you're not an ego asshole. You know what I mean? But you belong there,
It's
and
almost
know it too. I think everybody knows it,
It's almost worth more to me hearing what you just said and me not doing it than me going up there and giving it all away.
I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's worth a lot to know that you guys and other people out there feel that way.
A lot of other people know that.
That's
that-
unspent
They
capital.
know, because I've told a lot of people about this podcast and stuff, and a lot of they know.
well,
know.
just
You ain't fooling
people,
nobody those years. I mean,
we're not the only two. There's people everywhere that know.
Yeah.
You know, they know who else is supposed to be on the stage there, and who to
Yeah.
thank for making that band what it was. So, you know, that's it.
Well, and I'll cherish that like I cherish a lot of special memories all my life. And like I said, all good things come to an end. So if it's meant to be, it will be. But
Yeah.
you know, it's out of my hands.
I hope something special can happen one day. You know, who knows? You deserve every bit of good things that can happen for you, though, because you seem like a really good person. And who knows? Maybe even Randy Owen. You know, maybe one day he'll reach. And I didn't know him before, so I hate to. But based off of what's been, you know, all's been said, maybe he'll reach that point though in his life where, you know, it's more big picture and
It's funny, you know, it's funny every time I allude to how he used to be, or how he is, or I don't know where he is in his life now, but I always feel like it's weird, man. If I criticize anybody in that band, I immediately have this feeling like I've got to defend them too. It's like I shouldn't be talking out of school because I have just as many faults, and I probably irritated everybody just as much, not more. I probably would have fired me, or long before I got fired, because I'm old now and I have very little patience with kid stuff, and they were always older than me, you know. So I probably would have sent my ass out that door. So I will never play the victim. Yeah, there were some things that probably weren't fair, but life ain't fair, man. And I always get back to thinking that I'm the one that could have made it better. You know, you can make your situation better if you try a little harder, and you take the tools that you've been given and the parts that you've been given, and, you know, make them fit together a little bit better. So what if somebody's picking on you? So what if somebody doesn't like you, or they got it in for you, something? There's still something there that you can use to make your life better. But I was too damn immature to see that. I didn't care. You know, it's like the things about people that make you the maddest are the very traits that you have yourself. You ever notice that? Something that drives you crazy about somebody, if you take an honest look at it, you're the exact same way they are.
Yeah.
that's why you matter in hell.
Yeah, I know it. So
Well, and also how much people can change too, man. I mean, if you ain't been around somebody in 10 years, that you're looking at two guys right here that ain't that's like, you know, totally different from where they were 10 years ago.
Now, right then and there, right there is probably the reason that, well, everybody being older and more mature now would probably enjoy each other's company a lot better. But you know, imagine the bus back in the early days. There's guys. Jeff was 10 years older than me. Randy was 8. Teddy was 4 years older than me. They're all older than me, and they get this damn kid bouncing off the wall.
Yeah.
They're married, and they want to go to, you know, they want to lie down in the bunk, get a good night's sleep before this kid wants to stay up, bounce off the wall and party all night long, play music loud and throw shit, you know.
Yeah. And everybody, and it's like, and I'm sure when you have the interviews or people talk about all that time or whatever, you have to go back to that and like, guys, I was like, you know, this different person and like, you know, whatever. And I was at a different point in my life. And, you know, yeah, all of that was happening, which y'all remember, but you know, there's a reason everything kind of happened the way it did. You know, I was a fucking, you know, 20 something year old or whatever, you know, and then 30s. And then they were, you know, in their 40s or whatever. I mean, however you want to look at it, you know, but I get it. I get this picture a whole lot more now. And I'm even making resemblances to other stories that I've heard. And I hope that it gets the ending that I've seen some of those stories get, you know, because it's kind of weird. It's kind of like an elephant in the room. Obviously, we're talking to you. I mean, if we were talking to Randy Owen, you know, or what, or, you know, whoever, it'd be a, you know, a different side of the story, but the end of the story would still be the same. Hey, you know, I hope all you motherfuckers that's got the statues can get your shit together and at least wave for a picture together and be, you know, shake hands and let bygones be bygones, you know. Yeah. It would still be the same.
Trying to think of some. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some bands that have famous riffs between two players. Eagles comes to mind.
Oh God, dude, all of them.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Walsh and Glenn Fry.
Yeah.
Well,
Walsh, didn't those two hate
Felder and Fry. They actually got along really good with Walsh.
Shit, Brett Michaels and Bobby Dahl from Poison. Hell, they threw their instrument. Brett Michaels threw his mic at him, and Bobby Dahl threw his bass at him, and that on stage in front of everybody. And you know, they ended up in fist fights and stuff backstage all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, the list is endless of people that bands and riffs and stuff, especially when they're younger and stuff. You know, and 20s and 30s, and you know. Look, males, what is it? I just learned this today. Males quit making testosterone after what, 40 or something like this, around 40. Your body, males quit.
Speak for yourself, young man.
Yeah, your body quits producing.
It lessens, but a lot of it has to do with your lifestyle.
Gotcha.
Stuff you eat. But
yeah, they say that
you don't quit making it necessarily unless you're just getting some really bad habits and really bad shape.
Because a lot of men get injections, you know, like testosterone injections after 40, trying to still keep muscle mass up and all that kind of stuff, whatever. But so you're not sitting there just, you know, like you are in your 20s and 30s, you know.
Yeah, but guys that get testosterone injections after 40 aren't doing it for muscle mass.
Yeah, that other muscle.
Yeah.
A little muscle. Yeah. But I mean, this, you know, there's a lot to say about that kind of stuff and the way you act and whatever, and, you know, what you maybe think's important versus, because it even affects your brain, and, you know, your juices is flowing, and, you know, you're like a buck, you know. But if you ever watch older people, it's not the same. You know, an older man is not the same. I guarantee you this much. I can tell you this much. Randy Owen may be the hard-headed, still the hard-headed person he was 20 years ago, but I guarantee he's a lot different than he was 20 years ago. Now, I don't know where he's probably different, but I guarantee you he's changed in some ways. There ain't no doubt about it. It's just, and I don't even know him, but I can say that because
sure.
You know,
no doubt.
but
no doubt. But I'm just as stubborn as he is. So.
Yep.
Well, my point of view on it is, like I said, you helped create that brand and make it what it was. Everybody's got the music and the memories there, and my only wish is that you continue to be happy, healthy, and keep kicking ass like you are.
I appreciate that, J. Rob. I appreciate both of you, and I hope a lot of good on you for the you're doing, and I hope the blog and podcast and everything, vlog, whatever you call them now, does really well. Brings you some viewers and sponsors and all that good stuff. I pray some blessings on you, man. I think you guys are genuine, and I think you're in it for because you love music, and it's about seeing your business succeed. But I think you guys are in it for. I get it from you anyway. I don't really know you, but I get a good vibe here, man. I feel like you're fascinated with this, which is what it takes to make it. It's not cleverness or marketing or anything. Those are all parts of it. But if you're fascinated with something, it's going to last you all your life, and it's going to treat you right. And I think you guys are there, so I think you'll do well. Like I said, I pray blessings on you, man.
We really, really appreciate that, man. I mean, this little venture here is for more or less just the love of being able to do it and talk to great people, you know, like yourself, because we both got jobs. We got the band we're working on to build it up, and this is kind of for fun. This is entertainment for us, you know.
Yep.
Well, we'll have to come out perform somewhere.
That'd be wonderful, man. That would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate them kind words. And yeah, we ain't making no money off of it. Matter of fact, we put money behind it to try to really get some, views on these people that deserve it. That's the whole thing. Obviously it's a lot easier with somebody like you, but some of these other people who haven't had the career that you've had or whatever, we're just trying to get some of these people who deserve some attention. And we're really getting a lot out of the stories and sharing a lot of this stuff that some people, I think, keep held up inside, and whether it be good or bad or ugly or whatever. And it's just therapeutic to get it out there and share stories. And
I have an idea for you. You've got part done in this, and then the next person you should talk to is Don Felder, and then the next person should be I can't think of anybody, but there's several people that are in that situation where they've been kicked out of a band. Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick, he got excommunicated too. Okay. And you get all these people that have been kicked out of bands, and you get them all the same series. And I thought about putting together a band of these guys that have been thrown out of these big name bands, and just call them the Band, BANNED.
Or the name of the album can be the name of the album would be "I've been kicked out of better bands than this."
Yeah.
That would be great, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I've been kicked out of better bands.
The common thread is being,
right. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, so what a common thread,
Sure.
That'd be funny. Bunch of losers.
Bunch of losers.
You could make so many funny things out of that. But that would be hilarious.
Man, Really, really appreciate you being on again with us, and I'm sincere. I'd love to do it again at some point later, just to shoot the shit with you. And you really helping us out, and it's more so. I think that all the hours we got in now, I'm glad to call you a friend.
Absolutely.
Well, I
Look,
appreciate that. I'll call you back, and you got my. I'll call your friend back, and you got my number. You guys need something sometime, or just want to shoot shit? We'll hook up another one. This is actually kind of fun. So.
it is. It's super fun, man. It's super fun. Now, if y'all end up burying the damn hatchet and end up at one of these arenas somewhere, don't you act like you don't know us all of a sudden. Who are these assholes?
I don't think that'd be the case.
If they give me a microphone to say a few words, I may drag your ass up on stage and say, "Here's the guy that started all this shit."
Yeah.
It's gonna be. Yeah. Who are y'all again? A blog.
Yeah.
There's some bloggers out there in the crowd.
Right. Yeah.
I don't recall you son bitches. I don't. Oh man, this has been fun.
Did I tell you the story? I got one more little story, and then went off.
Oh no, bring it on.
And if I told you the other night, just stop me. Huh?
Oh, I said bring it on.
Come on with.
What now?
And I said bring it on.
If I told you this the other night, okay. But if I told you this the other night, stop me. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings. But and I'll get to go to bed earlier. But I mentioned something about if they give me a microphone to say a few words. Let's just say this is, in theory, it's happening. The reason that I don't think that they will give me a microphone goes back to my audition with the band in 1979, March the 1st, April Fool's Day, to be specific, 1979. And the reason I got the gig, and I promise I'm not going to make this long, but the reason I got the gig was not my drumming ability, but the fact that I was there on time. Actually, I was 15 minutes earlier. Did I tell you the story?
Yeah. You was there 15 minutes.
You
beat
part
them
of it,
to it.
But go ahead. That's fine.
I beat them to it. Okay. So did I tell you the part about when I said that I had been singing in a top 40 band? And I noticed that their vocals were really good. And I opened my big mouth and I said, I do a little bit of singing too, because this band I've been playing with, they've been wanting me to sing, and I've been singing some top 40 stuff. Did I tell you that?
No,
not that part.
No.
Okay. So we had played about 3 songs in the Bowery, and that's when I opened my big mouth. And I've been doing some singing too. You guys got really good vocals. I could probably blend in there with you pretty good. And they all kind of looked at me funny, like, seriously? And Teddy had a gooseneck microphone up there by his stool on the front of the stage, and he picked up the stand and he walked it back there to the drums, and he bent the gooseneck over to kind of help me where I could get the mic, where I could play and sing. I forget what song it was that we kicked into, but I was going to do the lead part. I kicked it off and got through about half of the first verse, and Teddy, he never said a word. He just walked back to the drums and picked up the mic and carried it back to the front of the stage and set it down and kept on playing the song. They never said another word about me singing. Never said a word. So that's my singing career was super. Yeah, thanks, Mark. Appreciate you. Thanks, guy. We'll take it from here.
We'll take it from here. Well,
Oh,
surely,
man.
surely, if
That's
that was
just
to
serious.
happen after all, that's been done, that you'd be given the opportunity to speak.
I don't know what I'd say. I'd probably be, I've never liked talking on no microphone now. I don't,
And I'm gonna go as far as this, and I hope this don't booger you up too much. I use that analogy all the time, but I think if it was to ever happen too, that it would get a standing ovation from people in country music too. If it was to happen, maybe at an award show or something, even if you didn't play or whatever, I think everybody would freaking, because I know how much every one of those artists, look up to the group Alabama. You know what I mean? And to see that story of redemption and everything, I think they would all be just, loving it.
well, that would be the kind of closure it needs. That would be satisfying on a lot of fronts for a lot of people. I know Charlie will see it from his lofty perch where he is, but if he were alive to see it, he'd be probably jumping up and down in his chair, because he used to tell me, he'd say, Mark, what is wrong with y'all? Stop this shit. Just stop it. Just stop it. What's the matter with you? He was mad about it. So then with y'all gone, it ain't the same for anybody in this business. He said, stop it. And I'd say, I can't do anything about it, man. I didn't start it. I don't know what to do. I can just defend myself. And he'd go off on it, man. He did not like that. But he was smart enough to mind his own business too. Oh well. He ain't here anymore. But he knows.
Well, brother, we love you. I mean, I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the kind words and everything, And we're gonna be talking to you even besides this,
Yeah, we're gonna get to one of your shows sometime soon too.
Yep. Absolutely.
If we can get any shows, it's hard to get shows right now, man. It's hard to get gigs of any kind, and we're kind of letting slip through the cracks, and that bothers me more than Alabama not doing what we're talking about, because of course I'm prejudiced, but Leah she's got a gift, and she does things to people when she's singing, and yet again, another group of people that need to hear it. But I tell you, man, we don't do it anymore. But we spent a lot of money trying to break her in Nashville. It was we were barking up the wrong tree. But it's tough. It really is tough. And now COVID's changed things a lot, but we were finding just on the club circuit, and which she doesn't really have a whole lot of interest in doing clubs anymore, but she did them for 25 years and got burned out on them. And we found out you got to, with promoters, booking agencies, and record labels, you've got to prove to them that you don't need them before they'll talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You have to. There is no such thing as artist development anymore. They record labels don't do that. You have to develop your own career on social media and have a following before they'll ever even give you the time of day.
Yeah.
And that takes
They want guaranteed money. Yeah. So they can, guarantee that they make that money. Yeah.
That's right.
But once you've got to that level,
That's
do you
happened.
really need them? Is the question.
No, you don't. And they're getting their payback for what they've done to artists all these years. But very few people know how to manipulate social media that well to make a splash.
Yeah.
It's more competitive than it ever was, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody can do records at home. Yeah. I'm trying to teach myself how to do bedroom recordings. What's that little girl that's such a pop phenomenon right now? Billie Eilish.
Eilish, yeah.
I don't know him.
Eilish.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
even know how
girl.
to pronounce it. I've
Yeah, I
seen
know.
it.
That's what I say when I don't know somebody. I give them the other sex.
I couldn't tell you anything she sings, she, it, or they, or whatever they're supposed to be called now. I couldn't tell you anything she sings, but I do know that she got I do know that she got a platinum album out of a record they made in her and her brother's bedroom.
Yeah.
With nothing more than rock band and a computer, and sending stuff out for parts for people to play on it, and they send it back to them, and then the brother mixed it with Pro Tools and Rock Band, and they did it on a laptop, and they sold platinum record.
Yeah.
So,
it's doable.
Whether I don't know, that's fascinating to me, and so I'm gonna learn a little bit about that. Anyway, I've got to go I've kept y'all up too late again. Always glad to do stuff like this. But, we've had fun both times, so we'll do it again sometime, and maybe I'll interview you.
We're going.
You remember way back when you was a nobody and you told me you was? Well, now you're famous. Now you like that shit now.
Oh.
I think it's going to be the other way around. I think it's going to be you're coming back in the limelight, and we're, the fellers over there saying, "Hey, Mark, you remember us?" Hey, thank you for the book, brother.
Thanks, bro.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope you enjoy reading.
Definitely will.
Yes, sir. I'm going to read it.
Hey, let me know what you think of it. I always like to hear about that.
Definitely will.
Definitely will.
Okay. All right. Y'all have a good night. We'll talk.
Love y'all.
Again.
Y'all have a good night.
See you.
All right, man. See you.
Bye-bye.